I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. Just, I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it, man.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
He just killed a fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. Yeah, because you got nothing. Got nothing.
I want to get out. I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA boxing.
All right. Testing 1, 2, 3. Welcome everybody to the Boxing Podcast, broadcasting to you live from the true north. This is your good friend, Mr. BDA, flying solo for the moment. I'm glad everybody could be on board for this one. Listen, fellas, this episode, it's a question and answer period. I'm going to be following the format that Bucho laid out on, last Wednesday, where we come up with questions of the day. There is a time period for each question, so that makes it a little bit more orderly, I would say, a bit more organized. So that's the way we're going to do it. Of course, the first thing we're going to get off on is the Shakur Stevenson performance. But before we do that, shout out to everybody in the chat room. I'm talking about the Straight G Turo, Bend Over, Virtuoso, Hard Recoil, GB Guthrie, Skel Brook, Iceman, Hard Recoil, Official Scorecard Boxing Science. Shout out to Official. Check out his channel, the Coup d'etat Boxing, for all your boxing breakdown needs. And he says, Mr. BD, I can't believe you ditched your nursery home Sunday activities for this whack fight. Well, listen, first of all, that was at night, the fight, so I didn't really have much going on that. Yesterday's people are still on lockdown here. Well, not lockdown, but things are closed. There's no bars open right now, I believe. Unless I'm wrong, I haven't been keeping up. Hold on a second. Don't forget to hit the like button, fellas. Hit the like. And of course, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Don't forget to spread the BDA gospel. Oh, by the way, I'm going to be opening up the phone lines. Might be dropping a StreamYard link as well. You never know how things go, because we do need to discuss a lot of these questions that are circulating in the boxing world. Renegade Sensei says, BDA, we still need that in-depth film analysis on Shakur's gas station brawl. Yeah, I'm going to get right on it, Renegade. Gonna get right down on it, man. I was joking around last night on the Discord, and I said, all these people, a lot of these athletes, they use sports psychologists. Somebody should get Shakur Stevenson a hypnotist, hypnotize him, and make him believe that he's not in the ring fighting, but that he's in front of a car wash. Maybe that'll get the aggression up a little bit. Oh, and also don't make him think that he's fighting a guy. Make him think he's fighting a woman. That will really get him pumped up. Let me tell you. Straight G Tour says, ain't seen the fight, but Shakur says that according to him, he didn't perform well. Indeed, that's what he said, Straight G. He admitted himself. But he also dropped a hint of something else that kind of worries me about his future, and we're going to get into that. Bend Over says, Shakur has the whole don't get hit part down to a T. However, he just comes across to me as reluctant to actually let his hands go. It seems to be more mental to me. Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is, Bend Over. Hard Recoil says, salute in the building. GB Guthrie says, if you watch that over UFC 263, there's something wrong with you. I'm not into the whole UFC thing anymore as much as I was 10, 15 years ago. And I'm not going to be paying for a pay-per-view if there's free boxing. But then again, Shakur Stevenson didn't exactly convince me that I should watch boxing over MMA the next time. Hard Recall says, I switched back to UFC in the middle of the first round. Yeah, you didn't. You did the right thing there. Jay Martinez, shout out to Jerry Martinez, says American boxing is dead. Ah, come on. Canelo, Triple G, Klitschko, Fury, Lomachenko. I mean, look, listen. You still got Devin Haney, who's undefeated on the come up. You got Errol Spence, who's undefeated, fighting one of the greatest fighters of all time, if not the greatest fighter of our generation, in Manny Pacquiao. Who else we got? I mean, you got a guy like Jamel Herring, who's pretty solid. The Charlos are stepping up, especially young Charlo at 154. So I wouldn't say American boxing is dead. It's just getting a little bit more international now with all these Eastern Europeans turning pro, which is really pissing off a lot of those black supremacists off. Virtuoso said, word if Jeremiah Nakatila had a week, then Shakur would have fought more aggressively. Jed Kyle, shout out to Jed Kyle from across the world. He says, official, what's good, my Serbian bra? Indeed, indeed, indeed. Listen, fellas, thank you for joining us. Listen, let's get down to it. Before, I'm going to invite a couple of people here on the Discord. I don't know if people are available for this one, but I'm going to invite them anyway. The only thing I don't like about doing shows at this time of the day is Gonzalo's really not, I think he's over there in the Philippines. It's nighttime, so I don't expect him to be on right now. Who else am I missing here? I'll get somebody else. Oh, I get recognized on the line. Recognize you there?
Shalom.
Shalom, recognize. Thank you for being on, man. It's Sunday. It's a day of rest, so I expect you to be on point and full of energy right now.
Alhamdulillah. Yes, you're right.
Okay. I don't know what the fuck that means, but by the way, let me just...
Praise God. Thank God.
Oh, okay. Good, good. Is that in Hebrew or what is it?
Same thing to me. Hebrew, Arabic. They're all the same.
Hey, listen, I gotta before we start, man, because we're gonna do the same format that Bucho was doing with the questions of the day and all that. But before we get to that, I don't know if we're gonna have time to talk. Before we lose time on this, I don't know if you saw. There's this guy named what's his name? Jeremiah Ponce from Argentina. He's 28-0 with 18 knockouts. He fought in England on the Zone last evening. And he fought a guy named Louis Ritson, who's his name Ritz. It sounds like a cracker of some sort. But anyway, he was a good domestic level European guy. And Ponce just beat him down. What's that?
Yeah? He beat him down?
Yeah, he's junior welterweight. This dude seems like a mix between Maidana, but with the body type of Margarito. He doesn't hit as hard as Maidana, but he's just one of those
looking at him right now, yeah.
He's one of those crazy Argentinians that if you look at his record, you don't see anybody of note, but it's just, they match him up tough with these guys with awful records, but who are tough. So by the time they make it out of Argentina, that at least you can say that they're tough and that they can crack. So at junior welterweight, this guy, he's not, look, if you put him in there right now against Josh Taylor, Victor Postal, those guys are too seasoned for him, but if he keeps on winning, he could make for some interesting fights, man, down the line. Couple of slugfests in his future.
You know how you beat a seasoned fighter? If you're not that seasoned like him, you're not that you don't have that kind of amateur experience, you beat that guy with good condition and a lot of experience. That's how you do it,
That's right, yeah. I still don't know if this guy has all of that. But like I said, based on
they look like they're working on it, right? They look like they're working on that.
Exactly. And if I look, what the fuck? Hold on a second. If I look back on his record, let me just put it back up here. Hold on a second. Give me 2 seconds here because I'm opening up the phone lines at the same time. He's pretty young. I think he's 24. Hold on. Let me verify that. Yes, fellas, I'm opening up the phone line so you guys can call in. All right, let's see. He is 24 years old. Yes, indeed. So there's room for development. With a slugger like him, I don't know how much he can develop, maybe refine his defense a little bit and the way he cuts the ring off and all that, but he's a tough dude, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Listen, experience, man. All that stuff does it. A good trainer. Teaches you how to make sure you don't, what you want to do with a slugger is make sure he doesn't smother his punches and make sure that he keeps that chin tucked in. He teach him how to keep that chin right in the middle of his chest. Make it like, he doesn't have to think about it. He just does it by instinct,
Yeah, exactly. Those
Good
little
trainer,
things.
make sure,
Yep. Little things like that. We also got Gonzalo on the Discord. Gonzalo, you there?
Mr. Gonzalo.
Hey, how's it going, Mr. BDA? How's my microphone?
You sound fantastic,
Excellent.
man. Coming across nice and clear. What's up, Gonzalo? Did you watch the Ponce fight that we're talking about? This Argentinian dude that...
No, I didn't watch that one because that's kind of early here in the Philippines. It's like around, I don't know, 4 or 5 in the morning. I missed that one. But I saw the other fights.
Okay.
ESPN.
Yeah. Well, when you have a chance, watch this guy because at least he's entertaining, man. He's an entertaining fighter. Comes forward, and those crazy Argentinians.
Yeah, he's like a hurricane. I'm watching some highlights right now. He's fucking hurricane, bro.
I'm telling you, yeah, he's a inside fighter. He's one of those guys, long guys that can actually fight on the inside. Very
Which is good. He's getting a lot of, especially the way his punches are. He's getting a lot of torque inside those punches, man.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, speaking of that dude, that he was entertaining. I tell you who wasn't entertaining, and that was Shakur Stevenson. So we're going to transition right on over to Shakur Stevenson and the question of the day. But before we do that, fellas, don't forget, phone lines are open. So if you want to call in, participate in the question of the questions of the day, rather, you can call in and do so. All right, so Shakur Stevenson beats, what's his name? Jeremiah Nakatalia, who was 21-1. Beats him over 12 rounds. I think he barely lost a round. He says, Shakur Steve, this is what he says. He says, to be honest, I didn't really like my performance. Now, I don't mind a guy that can box for 12 rounds and, doesn't knock a guy out. We've seen that before. But here's something that worried me a little bit here, guys. This is what he said. To be honest, I didn't really like my performance. I felt I could have performed a lot better, but he was an awkward fighter. You had an awkward fighter throwing punches, and he knows how to grab and get away. Okay, no, this is what he says. I tried to get him out of there a little bit, but I started getting hit with some solid shots. I didn't really like it. But next time, I'm going to work on moving my head a little bit more and step it up a little more. He didn't like getting hit, guys. Is he in the wrong line of business here, or? Because when a guy tells you, okay, it's one thing, obviously nobody likes getting hit, and it would be stupid to say, no, you got to go in there and get hit. But what I'm saying is, he's telling you himself, I got hit a little bit, and I didn't really like it. So, it
tells you that he's going to be reluctant to exchange in the future. That his marketability based on his style, when you think of him, like for example, this morning, like every Sunday here in the Philippines, I told myself, oh wow, there's going to be boxing. But when the thought crossed my mind that Shakur Stevenson was fighting, I really didn't get excited. So for like a future fight, when that thought crosses my mind again, I won't be excited because I know that he's going to be reluctant to exchange. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You see, what I don't mind him critiquing himself and saying, he feels that he could have done better. And of course, you wanna get hit with as few hard shots as possible. You want to do that. And so I do kind of like his fighting style if he was to, I would say, he used to pick up the pace somewhat. You know what I'm saying? If he was to pick up the pace of like, I'm really trying to hurt my opponent and get him out of there. I think guys like him, they sell themselves short. They like, well, I should be more defensive so I won't get hit less. Like you could do both of them. You can actually do both things. You can actually, defend yourself from big shots as you're creating offense and you're hitting your man with big shots. But this is the new American way. The new American way is if I have to stink up the joint, and get a victory, that's fine with me. And you better give me my pound for pound status at the same time, or
and
at
the
least
big paydays, and the big paydays, yeah.
Or at least have me the best fighter of my weight class, regardless if the guy I'm competing against is knocking out his opponents in impressive fashion.
Yeah. I mean, look, he said, well, I didn't like my performance. I got hit and I didn't like it. But next time, I'm going to really move my head a little bit more. So he's aware
There's
that.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean, he's aware that his inside game is lacking. But I didn't like the fact he says I got hit and I didn't like it. Well, I mean, what else are you supposed to? What's going to happen if you fight a guy like Valdez who can really crack, or a guy like Burchelt who will come and not stop at any moment, and he can actually hit pretty hard. Like, is he going to fold? Is he just going to clinch his way to a decision? Like, I'm exaggerating.
Well, it's important to build up pedigree, man. It's important to build up this. Not only your skills, your toughness, your experience. These guys. There's a reason why these guys don't fight certain fighters right away. If you fought Oscar Valdez right now, he thinks you'll lose. Shakur, he may not tell you, the public, but in his mind, he thinks he'll lose. He thinks that there's a good shot he ends up losing that fight. So that's why he won't fight an Oscar Valdez right now.
Well,
when he fights Oscar Valdez, it's when he feels that he can win the fight. That's when he'll fight him.
After the fight, he said, nobody at 130 can beat me. So he's saying the things that indicate that he's confident, but who knows who they're going to put him up there against, because you get Herring, who's a quick southpaw. He can crack a little bit, as he showed against Frampton. Then you got Valdez. Yep. So those are two top-ranked fights that could be made. My instincts tell me, logic dictates that he would probably go in there against a lesser puncher, which is Jamel Herring.
Herring, yeah.
Because, I mean, Herring is essentially a more seasoned version of Shakur, but at the same time, he might be a tad slower. He is older, and maybe Stevenson has a better, even though he's actually got less pro experience, he's actually got the more amateur experience. So if they get into a fencing match, maybe Stevenson could get the edge. You know what I'm saying? So what do you fellas think about Shakur Stevenson, though? Because Haney at least tried to go for the kill against Linares a little bit. He tried to force his way on the inside. Then he got cracked, and he tried to survive for the last 3 rounds. But at least he tried to change it up a little bit. Stevenson didn't even try.
Well, this is what sucks about Stevenson for me. Like, another thought that crosses my mind, even before I watch his fights. If you tell me about Shakur Stevenson's the caliber of fighter he is, I would think that he can beat everybody at the division. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I want to watch him. So I'm not denying that he's got talent, that he's a capable fighter, and he's a patient fighter, and he can win the 12 rounds without losing a single round and stuff like that. He's good, but that's the where I get stuck at. I know he's good, but I'm not really interested in watching the way he fights, because he throws one punch at a time. You see Lomachenko also southpaw. He's not really a power puncher, but he invests to the body. He throws a lot of punches, and he's more exciting. Even Lomachenko doesn't sell a lot. He's not a superstar. Well, he's a good fighter. He's a great fighter, but if you compare Lomachenko to Shakur Stevenson's style, just imagine that. Can you really say he's that greater than Lomachenko? Obviously not. And if Lomachenko doesn't really sell that much, what does that tell you about Shakur Stevenson? Oh, just because he's American, he's going to sell a lot? Is that the way that goes down?
Exactly. That's a great point, man. That's a great question. It's hard because he doesn't even look like he hits all that hard either. Remember, there was that one fight. I think it was the first fight since the whole pandemic thing started, and he fought some real nobody. And he tried to be aggressive. And I think he hurt both his hands because he's not used to punching with power and fighting aggressively. So he seems to be in a bit of a catch-22. I also see we got Jimmy on the Discord. Jimmy!
What's going on, brother?
How you doing, Jimmy?
I don't know if you'll be able to hear me.
I can hear you.
I'm walking my dogs right now.
I can hear you, man. I can hear you. Listen, while you're here,
okay.
Let me start off with the question of the day, which is, I'm going to start with you here. Hold on a second. That's not the question of the day. The question of the day, as it relates to Shakur Stevenson, who beat Nakatali last night by unanimous decision. Can Shakur Stevenson become a star throwing one punch at a time, Jimmy? Can he do that?
No, a star is in, are we rating that by number of pay-per-view sales and just overall fan? No, obviously not. Look at Andre Ward. I mean, there's enough precedent to answer that question. Andre Ward, the last Olympic gold medalist, came on, did the same thing. He cared about one thing, the win. Making exciting fights was never even a concern of his. That was never his interest. And because of that, he retired at 34 years old, making about $35 million less than a kid from Kazakhstan. in the country he fought for, won an Olympic gold medal for. So, I mean, and there's enough, like I said, case precedent of that's the way it is. Listen, that style won't sell. When I tell you, like, everybody says the joke, oh, I didn't make it out of the six. I literally didn't make it out of the six, dude. I was out like a light, and I wasn't even tired when I started watching that fight. That was hot garbage, bro. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna tell you right now with this kid, what it is. He's a kid like that would have never got to where he is in the 80s and 90s when the skill level you fought. They were just more skilled guys fighting then, because he's a very athletic kid. Extremely athletic with super above average reflexes, right? Quick fibers in the calves. He can jump out of there quick. He reads things good. But that just because someone's a great athlete with great reflexes doesn't make him a great fighter. At the end of the day, this is fighting, and he does not like to get hit. There's a reason he developed that style where 5 or 6 punches hit him a night. And at the end of the night, he spent more time obsessing over that little baby mouse he had under his eye, looking up at the Jumbotron over and over and smiling at it. Listen, this kid gets in there against somebody like Lopez, Valdez, who is a fighter. You know what I mean? Now, that's a kid now. He's a fighter. He don't give a shit. He's going to take some bangs because he wants to hurt the other guy. So when I say a kid who's more worried about not getting punched than they are about inflicting pain or on their opponent, that's not a fighter. A fighter like Mickey loved Toro Gotti, but when they were fighting, he wanted to knock his fucking head off. He wanted to put him the fuck out. That's what fighters do. Great athletes is what Shakur Stevens did. That's my thing.
Yeah, that's a great point, man. And by the way, we got a timer on for each question. So when the timer ends, we're gonna hear a sound, and that means we move on to the next one. But yeah, that's true. I mean, he doesn't like getting hit. That's the thing. And look, I know some people are gonna say the purists are gonna go, well, I mean, you say he's supposed to like getting hit. First of all, if you talk to most fighters, they kind of like getting hit in a strange way. They like the action, they like the contact. It's not the same like as liking an ice cream sundae, but they like the combat aspect of it. And I'm not saying that he needs to go in there and slug it out. But when a fighter is that reluctant of getting hit once and is willing to just win the fight one shot at a time, you can't develop, like Jimmy said, you're not going to develop a fight around that. Or at least a successful fighter. So,
another thing he mentioned, BDA, that I thought was not so honest, when they asked him about his opponent's style, Nakatila, he said that he was awkward, and I really didn't see anything awkward about Nakatila other than the fact that he had a good right hand and wasn't dissuaded too easily when pursuing Shakur. I didn't see no awkwardness, not too much of a tying up or anything that you would tell me that's what Shakur, that's why he answered that. It just didn't sound too honest, right?
Exactly. And then after the fight, he goes, well, I can beat anybody at 130. Yeah, maybe he could. But now we get into the whole thing of, well, is one shot at a time going to get it done? And if it gets done...
I think one of those early shots caught him, just enough that he tasted the kid's power and he didn't want to taste it again for the rest of the fight.
Right. Yeah, that's true, because Reese Mack in the chat said, look, he says, Nakatali has never been knocked out, and he has won 17 of his 21 fights by KOs. And look, most of those fights might have been taking place in Africa, or the continent, as I like to call it, and those guys aren't really that good, but they're tough. And if you're knocking out 17 out of 21 opponents, even if they're bums, that means at least you can crack a little bit. So, but that's still, I mean, Shakur Stevenson had the advantages in skill, talent, in terms of hand speed and explosiveness, and it was just one shot at a time. Hey, by the way, fellas, let's go to the phone lines real quick. We got somebody calling in. Hold on a second. 267, you're on the air. 267, what's on your mind? I mean, it's the question of the day. Question of the day, rather. 267, can you hear me? Oh, shit, hold on. I got you. All right. Yeah?
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you, man. What's up?
All right, what's up, guys? Well, I was about to talk about Shakur Stevenson and everything. I perfectly agree with both of you. I really, when it comes to Shakur Stevenson, I tell everybody, get your pillow and blanket ready because you're gonna fall asleep watching him. I was watching the fight last night. I had to get off halfway because I almost fell asleep watching him fight. And if you look at all the people that he fought, the skill set is limited at best. if you want to be like nice about it. It's limited at best. Like mostly all these guys can't fight. Like he was talking about the dude was awkward last night and everything. I didn't see it either. I didn't see the guy being awkward either. It's just I saw highlights after the fight happened today, and I just see it like Shakur got hit one good time, like you said, and didn't want to engage. And that's the thing. Shakur Stevenson does not like engaging. And you would think, like, with his talent, his hand speed, his boxing and everything, he would want to because he should be able to counter these guys and everything. But, I don't even think that Top Rank should even make him a headliner anymore because they're actually losing viewers and they're losing money as him as a headliner. And then they were talking about putting him in the ring with Oscar Valdez or Jamal Herring. I think they put him in the ring now with him. They're both going to stop him.
Whoa. You know what? That's a great point, too, about the viewership. First of all, that's a bold prediction, but the viewership, too, like King Bucho told me, is imagine somebody is at home at night and goes, you know what? Oh, there's boxing on. Let me see what's going on. Like a casual guy, right? Some casual decides to watch boxing on ESPN, and this is the guy that's fighting. They're gonna say, I'm never gonna watch boxing again.
Yeah, you're right about that. Because like the thing is to attract the casual boxing fan, and the main question is, does Shakur Stevenson attract casual boxing fans? And 100 out of 100 people are gonna tell you no. And like it's gonna take a real hardcore boxing fan to want to watch Shakur Stevenson fight, and they're able to barely watch him fight because how boring he is. But now, I don't really. You can't blame it all on him, but you got to also blame it mostly on Top Rank, on the opposition that they put in front of him. So,
yeah, that's a good point,
I
man.
just can't put the blame all on him.
Yeah, we're gonna see who they place him up against. Because look, I very much doubt that he's gonna start changing his style all of a sudden. So it's they gotta put him in there against a top opponent now, man, just to see what happens. Anyway, listen, caller, we gotta move on. Thank you for your call, and we'll catch you on the next one, all right? If you want to call in for the next question, because we're gonna go through several questions throughout the episode, call in, all right, man?
I got you. Thanks.
All right, take it easy, man. Yeah, okay. So he brings up a good point. It's like, he probably won't change his style. It seems like Shakur Stevenson is hardwired to one punch at a time, that new American way of punching. So if he cannot change that style and he's going to just continue to do this now, he could be successful, right? Maybe he does outbox like Devin Haney, Oscar Valdez, and Jamal Herring just doing one punch at a time. But like I said, what are the chances that he becomes a decent star when it comes to boxing?
Well, the reason they keep mentioning Mayweather when comparing the defense, how many punches he gets hit, and the styles, Mayweather sold because he was hated. I'm not talking about the early Mayweather. The later, when he became a superstar as far as pay-per-view numbers, he sold because people wanted to see him lose. Now, what do you get from Shakur Stevens' personality? Kind of like the same defense, similar style, not the same. But what I'm trying to say is, since he's a real negative fighter and doesn't excite, why do they keep bringing up Floyd Mayweather? Because they want to link that aspect of Mayweather to him to kind of correlate the two to where if Mayweather sold that they're trying to sell this guy, but they're not the same person. Mayweather sold because he was hated. This guy is the new narrative. Okay, he's a back foot fighter that throws one shot at a time, but let's hate him to watch him. That makes no sense. You're your own character, right?
It's a good point, man. Yeah. Bucho was complaining about that too. They kept linking him to Mayweather. And then they go, in the beginning of the telecast, they go, he's a medalist, just like De La Hoya, just like Floyd Mayweather. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, but those guys, at least those guys were excited. Yeah.
And Floyd, actually, in the beginning, back in the day, Floyd was a tough kid. He'd take some shots and give some shots. He was in some good fights. He knocked people out and stuff. Completely, he took more shots, took more risks. This kid, I've seen now, right? That's only the third fight I've seen of Shakur Stevens. Because I saw one and so...
Sorry about that, Jimmy. That means that it's time to move on to another question. But finish.
Okay.
But
Okay,
finish your statement. Finish your statement, and then we'll move on.
Oh, I was just gonna. I was just gonna say it's completely different. I've seen the three fights. The first one I saw was so unimpressed by how unexciting it was that I skipped the next few, and then I saw one. I'm like, okay, maybe that's a one-off because it wasn't exciting. Now, that's the third. So you know what I mean, dude? Like, I just I got too much. You know what I mean? I'd rather fucking rearrange my junk drawer. You know what I mean? Time is the most precious commodity we have, dude. And I'm not going to waste it on a kid who just is going to do what he has to do to fucking get the win, but not care that people spend a lot of money. Motherfuckers who show up there sitting in the front row spend hundreds of dollars on those tickets. For that shit?
No.
Are you kidding me? I would have thrown my fucking water bottle at him.
Well, like the caller said earlier, he said, look, I mean, stop putting him in main events. This guy is not main event material. I mean, I'm sorry, he might be skilled, fast, and everything, but he's gonna kill events if you keep putting him in there as a main eventer. Real quick,
yeah, another fighter he faced, another boring fighter in Joet Gonzalez, unproven, and another boring fight. The narrative was about the sister, how the guy was dating the sister, and the dad wasn't happy because he was dating him, and that's all they talked about.
That's true, yeah, man.
Yeah, and let's be honest, BBA too, right? Not to make it this way, but the fact that they always want to bring up race, and it is true. If you look at the avatars of the people who say that, oh fuck you, you're just a hater. I don't understand it. I don't know if it's a tribalistic thing or if these black fans truly don't care if the fight's not exciting. You know what I mean? Because again, when you label something a defensive masterpiece, it was against a part-time police officer from Nigeria. You know what I mean, dude? You got to keep it all, together.
That's true. Yeah, it was a Roy Jones type performance when he was fighting sanitation workers. Real quick, fellas, let's go because we got a couple of phone calls here before we move on to the next question, which is still about Shakur Stevenson, by the way. So we still got comments on that. 929, you're on the air. 929, what's on your mind?
Yo, what's up, BDA? What's up, Jimmy? What's up, Recognize?
What's up, Virtual?
What's up, man?
Virtual, what's up, bro?
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, man.
Virtual, what's up, kid?
So yeah, I just watched the fight, split screen with UFC 263. And I was watching Nate Diaz basically almost knock out his opponents after getting basically dominated for 4 rounds. And I was just jumping for joy, like just hoping for a come-from-behind victory for Nate Diaz. Well, on the other side, I'm watching, Shakur Stevenson for a WBO interim title opportunity, basically do this one punch at a time thing, this pacing that, for me, wasn't grabbing my attention. Now, I understand that this guy that he was fighting was an unknown. I think there wasn't that much of video on him. I've never seen him before. But he was kind of a crafty, tricky fighter, very slippery. I don't think that was that much of a challenge for Shakur to just go in there and try to invest in the body and try to invest in varying his combos or nothing like that. It was just, let me not get hit. And that's where he's building his fight game around, is not getting hit. He had, to me, for my entertainment value, it's like it's not going to grab my attention, honestly. And a lot of fighters, fight fans' attention. He has to understand that getting hit is an inconsequential thing of fighting. It's just going to happen. You're not going to block, parry, dodge, duck every punch that comes your way for virtually every second of a fight. And it just, to me, that fight stunk. To me, that performance doesn't warrant a world title opportunity against Jamel Herring. Because I know they're trying to position him as the next Floyd. They even showed the punch stats, and they don't even compare to Floyd. Floyd Mayweather Jr. at 130 was a much more dangerous fighter than Shakur Stevenson.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
But this thing is just not happening. Let the kid wait. His time will come. I want to see Jamel Herring versus Oscar Valdez. There is no rush, no demand to see Shakur Stevenson in a world title fight. Well, outside of his fans, maybe, but I'm just not with it. I understand what Top Rank is trying to do, and I'm not following their agenda.
Very well said, man. Very well said, Virtuoso. Listen, we got to move on, but you summed it up perfectly, man. Better than I ever could have. That this guy, there's no rush right now. Herring and whatchamacallit, Valdez, those are the two guys based on their last performances. Absolutely. So, Virtuoso, feel free to call in for the next question of the day that as we go through the episode, and we'll catch you then. All right, man?
All right, man. I'll keep listening. Peace out.
All right. Peace out,
BDA,
man.
he reminded me of the movie Dodgeball, Dip, Duck, Dodge with Patches O'Houlihan, the guy in the wheelchair. Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a defensive masterclass, right? What was it? Dip, Duck, and Dodge? Oh, that's a
something
good
like that.
Hey, by the way, don't
start
forget
throwing wrenches in the ring with our displeasure and saying the fact if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Exactly. Anyway, but listen, by the way, don't forget to hit the like button, fellas. Hit the like. Let's go to another phone call real quick. We're here talking about Shakur Stevenson question of the day. 226, you're on the air. 226. There's a lot of noise in the background.
Oh, hold on a sec, Mr. BDA. Let me pull over for you.
Oh, boy.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better. Did they...
It's going to be fun.
Slugger, did they let you out, man? Did they let you out?
The mental asylum.
Hey, listen, I can't get into that right now, Mr. BDA. Don't ask me any confidential questions like that. Let's stick to boxing, please.
Let's do that. Shakur Stevenson, what'd you think? Can he make it as a big name in boxing, throwing one shot at a time and being afraid of getting hit?
Listen, Mr. Stevenson, next time you put on a show, next time you put on a fight, whatever, you get a fight going, why don't you warn the fans to get their fucking beds instead of the couch and get their pillows and their blanket sheets so they can fucking fall asleep to your lullaby? You sorry motherfucker.
Oh, wait.
You should be kicked out of boxing, Mr. Stevenson.
Yeah, that language is not necessary, man. I don't understand that.
I apologize, Mr. BD. I apologize. You know, sometimes I fly off the handle, but I don't mean nothing by it. You know how I am, Mr. BDA. But
yeah. I'm just saying, you were a little bit out of line.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Wait, what's that, sir?
I said you were a little bit out of line. A little bit.
And then you're a jerk off.
Hey, you fucking watch it. Don't you call me no jerk off, all right? Now, I thought I was done with you. Anyway.
I'm sorry. I thought I was muted.
All right, well, listen, Slugger.
All right, okay.
We got a lot of calls here, so last comment before we move on. And you can call in during the episode when we move on to another question, right, man? But last comment, last statement for this segment.
Yeah, well, listen, last comment I wanted to say is I just want to, first of all, thanks for having me on. Just give me 10 to 15 more seconds. All right, listen, a lot of you boxing channels out there, quit fucking getting all attached to these boxers, and getting down on your knees and sucking their man thing. All right, calm down. It's just a sport. Quit going there and saying, hey, Haney sucks because I like Lopez, or Lopez sucks because I like Haney. Quit being a fruitcake. Be a man and act like a man.
All right,
and have a pair of cojones.
Thank you,
sorry,
Slugger.
motherfucker. I'm sorry, BD. I apologize for the language.
Stop being
apologize.
Hey, like Slugger said, I'll reiterate what he said. Stop being a fruit, like he said. Thank you, Slugger. Call back during the show next. All right, man? We're going to move on to another question. Take it easy.
All right, brother.
Stop
that guy reminds me of Andy Kaufman.
All right. BDA, I got a couple of hookers back in my room, my tree. I think I'm second. All right, queer.
Yeah, that's dodgeball. Yeah, that's not fun, that movie again. We should watch that movie just to get more quotes out of it. Okay, we got more phone calls, but what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the next question, which is, what chances do you give Stevenson to beat Valdez and Herring? So I'm going to move on to the next caller here, and I'll ask him that question. Hold on a second. 757, you're on the air. 757. Question of the day. What chances do you give Stevenson to beat Valdez and Herring?
None.
Oh. Expand upon that, please.
What's up? It's BDA. Everybody on the panel, everybody on the live chat. This is OG Boogie.
Oh, G Boogie, man.
From the performance that I seen yesterday of Shakur Stevenson, he was tentative on he had the better skills, as in the better attributes, faster, quicker. You could have cut angles better on him. The other guy, I feel sorry for him. But anyway, his career is probably down the drain. He made Deontay Wilder's technique look magnificent. And what I mean by that is, put it this way, I could have hanged him up on my ceiling and let him act as a fan for me. So, Shakur Stevenson, does he have a chance with Valdez and Herring? Everybody has a chance, but from what I saw, he was, wow. He just needs to practice more on the bag, get more experience in the, put more people that will challenge him in his workout. Even if it's mid-sparring, light sparring, heavy sparring, he needs to practice on his skill, learn how to set up his shots, because I did not see any shots that he could set up. And it was like he was getting cracked on some of those when he tried to go in, lean back, try to step in, and he didn't use no movement. He was the quicker fighter, the younger fighter. Come on, had the better attributes. Use it, utilize it. Obviously, he wasn't doing that. He's doing something wrong that he could have got that guy out of there by third round if he put his tactics together. And that's all I got to say. Right now, I say Valdez and all of them, they'll probably set him up faster and get him knocked out, because he was scared all day from that other opponent. I don't want to butcher his name. The other opponent, he was scared all through the whole fight of getting hit.
Yeah, both guys
get hit in a boxing match.
Exactly.
You're going to get hit in a boxing match.
Exactly. You got to expect that you're going to get hit
I'll
a little
leave
bit.
it to the floor now. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, yeah. All right. Well, listen, G Boogie, that's excellent points. That's what I'm trying to get at here. He's gonna get hit. He has to keep that in mind, but he has to be a little bit more aggressive. We're not saying he has to fight like fucking Arturo Gatti in there or Brandon Rios, but he's got to step it up a little bit. His career's on the line here. So, G Boogie, listen, we're gonna move on to the next question.
I'm sorry.
We're gonna move on to the next question, but call in for the next question, all right, man? If you want.
Yes,
right,
sir. Thank you for letting me get my word out. And God bless everybody. Peace out.
Peace out, man. Thank you for calling in. By the way, I forgot real quick. Don't forget to hit the like button. And I forgot to read Chris Case's super chat from way back real quick. He says, I didn't even bother to watch the Shakur Stevenson. He's saying, I watched the UFC at a friend's house. Stevenson has never seemed like must-see TV anyway. Can't wait to see Inoue and Loma again. Yes, indeed. Those two fighters coming up during the next week. All right. Don't forget to call in, fellas. The phone lines are open. Question of the day. So, guys, based on what G Boogie said, because the question of the day, one of the questions of the day is, what chances do you give Stevenson to beat Valdez and Herring? Like he said, obviously everyone's got a chance. I would actually make him the favorite against those guys, just based on the fact that he's taller, longer, and faster. But what do you fellas think?
Well, like Valdez, he's also undefeated. But we know that guy gets hit. I mean, you're just as good as like your last performance. Most of the time, yeah, he beat Burchell spectacularly, so his stock kind of went up. But we know that he's undefeated, but he gets hit too. He's been in wars, but you know, the type of fight that he's been in is usually in these wars, he exchanges punches and he gets drawn into like a firefight. But if Shakur Stevenson is unwilling to make it into a firefight and fight safety first, he can get on the back foot. He could probably outpoint Valdez. But it's going to be one of those type of fights where, you know, he's going to be on the back foot running all day. And how good is that going to look for the sport? So it's just one of those things.
Yeah, man.
It's going to look terrible. It's going to look terrible. I was looking forward to Shakur Stevens coming out of the Olympics. Fellow lefty, you know, coming out, high props, high praise. People rushing to sign him, everyone but Mayweather. And as it turns out, he wins a title in less than 20 fights. Good job. So I'm waiting to see mainstream stuff from him, because a lot of his stuff wasn't mainstream enough for me to follow. And now that it's being shown mainstream, I'm like, please put it back. And this is not because I'm trying to take a diss against pure boxing. All right, I love James Toney. I love Terry Norris. I love Sugar Ray Leonard. There's many others that I could name over time. Luciano Bucci. I'm saying his name wrong, but the Italian guy from junior welterweight back in the 70s. I like pure boxing. I do. This is not pure boxing. Pot shot 1-2 and doing more work to try to avoid getting hit, especially to avoid getting hit to where you can't counter in return. That's the last part of that sentence that everybody overlooks. Hit and not get hit. It's more counter from a position where you can't get hit is really the name of the game, because you've got to hit. And you've got to hit with enough to discourage the person from attacking you more, which I don't think he can keep Valdez from doing. That doesn't mean that Valdez can beat him, but there's a scenario that Valdez could possibly walk him down because he's got nothing to keep Valdez off of him with. Well, he showed nothing in his last several fights to show that. So it's not that we dislike him and we're not purists and we don't really love the sport. It's the fact that this is prize fighting. You're paid for what your value is. And when this is what you're putting out there, you're never going to be a Floyd Mayweather. You're not. Because you're never going to get the fights to get a big enough name under your belt to make those kind of earnings. That's my piece on that.
That's excellent. Very well put. When you say he spends more time on the defensive than the offensive, and that's what's stopping him from actually making some action happen. I mean, it's what's going to happen if he fights Valdez? Because I would actually favor him over Valdez right now. But what if it's a close fight where he's landing one shot at a time and Valdez is landing on the shoulders, on top of the head, blah, blah, and the judges decide, you know what? I like the activity more than that one shot at a time per round. He's going to get robbed. Or robbed. He's gonna lose.
In that case, it's going to go to the shot of whoever Valbaran wants to win more.
Exactly. Go ahead, Gonzalo.
What I saw this fight with Nakatila, I think this guy must hit pretty hard. I mean, he got 17 KOs in like 21 fights, and some guys, they don't have to turn over their punches to hit hard. They could just drop the hammer, just a straight short punch or mid range. Just drop that arm, and they touch you, they can hurt you. Nakatila must be one of those guys with the right hand. Valdez got good power, but he's usually it's the mechanics of the way he throws his punch, how he turns them over, and the body shots. So it might be different type of power. This is no excuse to the Shakur performance, but he obviously, I think, recognizes he must have felt something that said, no, I don't want to trade with this guy, right? Would that be different against Valdez? It's a different scenario, different fight.
That's a good point. See, that's the thing. You always have to assume or ask the question, well, if he fought this way against this guy or he showed this against that, how's he going to look against a guy with severe firepower and so on and so forth?
Exactly. I mean, you talked about would you favor him against Jamel Herring and Valdez. Of course, I give him a good shot. I give him these are one of these 50-50 fights. But I forgot what it was. It might have been Jay or the caller. Somebody said that. Well, what if it's easy for Valdez to walk him down? That's a problem, right? So in other words, his power is having no effect on him, or he can deal with his power enough where he can block it, get caught with a little bit of it where it doesn't deter him from keeping him to go forward. That's going to force Shakur to fight, right? That's going to force him. And you got to ask yourself: Is this because in boxing you would like to think, right, or in any combat you would like to think that a professional fighter would try to prepare himself for every situation. What if this is not working? I got to do this. Let's say, for instance, he doesn't like to engage, he doesn't like to brawl. But what if a guy forces you to brawl?
Exactly.
You can't go backwards. In other words, he's catching you, he's hitting you, you're ineffective, whatever the case may be. And I think that going to who would win the fight. I mean, to me, it's 50-50. I would probably give Valdez the slight edge to beat him because I'm not sure whether or not he can, the power be enough to keep it respectable where Valdez is not cautious about coming forward, fighting on the front foot.
The great points, man. That's the thing, though. It's gonna be interesting to see what he does next, what he can do against the guy, because this one shot at a time thing, it's not gonna help his career either financially or in terms of future fights against better opponents. Let's go to the phone lines real quick before we move on, because we got 28 seconds left on this question. Okay. Hold on, Jimmy. 773, you're on the air.
Yeah, shut up.
Oh, wait, you can't talk to Jimmy that way. What's the matter with you?
Yeah, Jimbo, I got something to say real quick. I'm sick of these bitch-ass motherfuckers coming in here fighting like bitches. This is prize fighting. This is prize fighting. You're supposed to put on a show. Okay? This isn't the Olympics. This is a prize fight. Go on there and entertain the fans, you bitch-ass haters. That's what these haters do. They're bitch-ass haters. Now, what I'm telling you right now is I saw the same thing in the main event yesterday for the UFC fight. Israel Adesanya, big pay-per-view, and what does he do? He goes and leg kicks to a boring-ass decision. And people are out there hyping him up. Oh, what a technical, good performance. Yeah. Horse shit. It's a boring-ass point fighting. Come on, dude. You're a prize fighter. Go out there and put on a show for the fans and pay their hard-earned money. And the same thing with the Devin Haney. Devin Haney's a prime example of this boring-ass, loudmouth piece of shit. He can't put on a show for the fans, but he wants to go in there and talk shit. All these loudmouths talk shit, and they go in there and put these snooze fest, fighting off their back foot, doing the bare minimum, squeaking out wins. It's honestly horse shit. Floyd Mayweather made a living off it. He somehow managed to capitalize it. I don't know how he made a living, made all the money he did with all his boring performances, but he's the only one. You're not going to see another one become a star like that. I promise you. Israel Adesanya, he's lucky he put out these boring performances, but next time his fandom's going to go shrinking. He's not going to sell no pay-per-views. He's going to be $250K max. So quit defending these boring performances. Call him out. So let's hold him accountable on the show.
That's Kevin from Chicago telling. That's Kevin from Chicago telling you how it is, or how he sees it, rather. Kevin, thank you for your call. Feel free to call for the next question.
Nate the Great. How about Nate Diaz? Nate the Great went out there and got the biggest reception. He's the biggest star out there, and he went out there and got his ass beat. But he put it on the line because he went out there and made it happen. He put it on the line, came for it. He rocked it, dude. That's what people want to see. You don't have to go out there and win and point fight. So fuck all these boring ass little fighting off the back foot.
Point taken, Kevin.
Bitches.
Take
fuck
it easy,
that.
Kevin. Kevin, take it easy. Jeez, Louis, you're getting a little rambunctious here. A little bit. Anyway, listen, feel free to call.
I'm gonna take a shit on them.
All right. Thank you. Take it easy, Kevin. Thanks for your call. Call back during the next question, all right? We're going to move on to the next question. Thank you for your comments, man. Take it easy.
Fuck.
All right, sorry. Jimmy, you wanted to say something before we move on to the next question?
No, I was just going to say on that question, because I didn't answer that one. Yeah, he beats Herring, and he loses to Valdez. If they were to fight in the next procession, if they went in that order. And I want to say that kid last night, God bless him. He's a cop in Arabia. So, I mean, you can only expect so much, but he had horrible balance, horrible footwork, like Andre Ward pointed out. And that punch that he went down on didn't hurt him. He wasn't rocked. You saw it in his eyes. He was smiling. He wasn't hurt. He was off balance. He was embarrassed that he got caught off balance and got put down. I don't think that kid has much of a punching power, and it's just because the way he fights. So because of that, he's not going to be able to hold Valdez off him. But he has enough talent, I think, beats actually Herring, I don't know, actually probably pretty easily.
Oh.
That's my opinion.
Well, yeah, I think so too, man. But again, everything needs to happen before we, and then we'll see if we're right or wrong. Let's move on to the next question. By the way, the next question will be. Hold on a sec. Is that the next question? 2, 3. Yeah, that's the one. Now that let me start a timer here because again, it's 10 minutes per question. Teofimo Lopez re-signing with Top Rank. I think he may, he might have made the right choice. You never know, but at least he feels that Top Rank has the best chance of making him or getting him to where he wants financially and in terms of his career. So now Bob Arum says there might be a pay-per-view with him this October. So some people are saying that it's probably Lomachenko. But first, Teofimo Lopez has to beat Kombucha. He has to make weight 2 more times if he's going to be fighting Lomachenko in October. And then Lomachenko before that as well has to beat Nakatani. So guys, what are the chances that Teofimo Lopez versus Vasyl Lomachenko 2 happens in October?
That's the fight we're talking about.
I think that, I would love for it to happen in October. Let's see what happens with their fights, right? Let's see what happens with Kambosos, and let's see how Lomachenko, I think Lomachenko is going to be. He has the tougher challenge fighting Nakatani. Let's see what happens after those fights. If they're both good, both win, an impressive, not like devastating fashion, but impressive wins where we know they won the fight. If it's devastating, then even better. But why not make the fight? If both these guys are ready to fight each other, let's make this fight happen. I mean, he signed with Bob Arum, like I was telling you yesterday. All this. I got this slave contract, or I'm being mistreated. I'm underpaid. At the end of the day, they signed with Bob Arum. I don't care what they say. They can say whatever the fuck they want, but at the end of the day, they're like, all right, I'll sign with you, Bob. Because he's a great promoter. And as long as it's, like everybody else, as long as it's in-house, he's willing to make these big fights, And I think that if he fights Lomachenko and pay-per-view fight, I think Bob is looking like, hey, look, man, maybe the rematch, let the fight go, let it go straight down the middle. Whoever wins, right? And that gives Lomachenko a great chance of going in there, outboxing him, not trying to knock him out, not having to fight more than he has to, just going there to win a fight. And if he wins, Bob Arum's probably like, man, fuck it, let's make a trilogy,
Oh. Yeah.
And there you go. That's where it goes. Of course this is going to happen. It's an in-house fight. And Bob Arum's the king of in-house fights, but at the same time, all the promoters are doing that right now. Now, Bob can work with Matchroom. That he and Hearn have proven the fact they can work together. PBC will only work with Bob Arum in regards to Tyson Fury, but that's about it. Now, all the fights around there are down there, with the exception of Tank floating between 6,000 and 7,000 divisions because he can't stay in shape. Everybody else is either Matchroom or Top Rank. So, of course, he's going to resign with Top Rank because that's his.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. That's going to offer the most fights for him. It's going to offer the most fights for him. He's going to be able to fight Josh Taylor if he moves up. He's going to be able to fight Lomachenko. He's going to be able to fight Shakur Stevenson. He's going to be able to fight Herring. He's going to be able to fight Oscar Valdez if he chooses to move up. There's a plethora of fights for him to stay with Top Rank there. He signs with PBC. All those doors are shut. Now what's he going to do? Where's he going to fight? You're going to move him all the way up to 147 this quickly? No. The smartest option for him right now is to re-sign with Bob Arum. And since they're in-house fights, they will make them. And it's like you said, if it's a close fight, they even call it a draw, because I think that Bob's money basket is with Teofimo. But if it's even a draw, they'll do a third fight. And so you make a trilogy of it. He'll make more money doing that than he will farming Lopez out with anybody else.
You know what, though? But that's the thing, though. As far as I understand, I'm going to put up the article while you guys talk to see exactly what happened. I think he essentially extended the contract because he was already under contract, even though he's going to fight in Triller. He already had the contract with Top Rank, and I think that was what Steve Kim was saying when he called in here one time about how what's going to happen when he goes back to Top Rank. Are they going to treat him like an ass based on everything he said and did, or are they going to? Right now, it seems based on what Teofimo Lopez said, he says we're on decent terms or something along those lines. So that the Top Rank thing is an extension until 2023, I believe. I'd have to read the article, but
if you're a boxing fan, you kind of like this in the sense that there is some animosity towards Teofimo. So, get Teofimo paid, but put him in tough and just whatever happens, right? And, sometimes that's all you need to do. And you might see him, because I have a feeling he's going to be one of those type of guys, as he keeps winning, he's going to be exciting, but he also has this real asshole natural personality, like his dad, that could sell. You know what I'm saying? That could really, really sell as this monster villain that kind of has these good skills and can knock you out. You know what I'm saying? Because the more he wins, man, he's gonna be a real jerk off. I guarantee you that. Watch.
Yeah. And that's also the relationship between Bob Arum and Terrence Crawford. I mean, Bob Arum must have thick skin. I mean, not literally because he's old, but he did the same thing with him. It's like there were some problems there, and Bob Arum and Terrence Crawford got into it, but at the end of the day, he's still with Bob Arum. So, I mean, Bob Arum got the ability to keep these guys and offer them good deals without really getting upset about it. And these fighters aren't complaining at the end of the day because they're still remaining with him. So, it's interesting.
Well, that's why when this all went down. Well, first off, Jay, sorry, I didn't know I was muted, bro. Sorry about that. But
no worries.
Second, that's why I laughed when I said he ain't going anywhere. This kid has no idea what the fuck he's talking about. He was talking about self-promoting because he wasn't going to go to the PBC, get under their thumb, and have to do nothing but in-house and exactly what Al Heyman says. That wasn't an option. So obviously he was going to sign back with Bob. I didn't think it was ever even a question. But yeah, so he just threw him an extension, threw him some more money, and promised him a big pay-per-view. And it has to be with Lopez. I mean, who else is going to be? I'd be surprised unless it was that would have to be Lopez for a big one. I mean, Lomachenko. But, that's my thing on that.
And you know what? That's the other thing is, even the Teofimo Lopez fans will tell you, we've had him on here, and they say, yeah, he thinks Haney and all these other guys are making more than him. In other words, they were saying that, they were admitting that Lopez doesn't know what's going on in terms of finances and all that. So now he's getting a little bit more money. Hopefully that will satiate him, and hopefully that'll make the big fights happen. Because again, there's the Lomachenko fight, and even if, let's say, Lomachenko loses to Nakatani, that's a Nakatani rematch right there for Lopez, or he could move up to 140. Because again, he's been having trouble making 135 to fight Taylor.
He's gonna have a lot of options.
Exactly,
he's got a lot of options. You know,
and
he could. Yeah, go ahead.
Just real quick, Triller. Remember, Triller lost Tyson and Jake Paul and all those fellas. So who knows? That seems to be a sinking boat as well.
Yeah, I think. Well, I don't think. I know it's a one-off. No, it's just a one-off. He's gonna get I heard $4 million, something like that. So he's gonna get a lot of money for this fight. That's it. He's just gonna take that dough, and he's gonna go back with Bob Arum. And if he fights a guy like Lomachenko, it's gonna be pay-per-view. If he fights Josh Taylor, pay-per-view event, where he will get a lot of money, back-end money.
Or another scenario that I just thought about. Another scenario real quick. Let's say that Taylor decides to move up to face Crawford, another in-house fight between Top Rank, but then the belts get split up, but they get split up between top-ranked fighters. Then Teofimo Lopez can comfortably move up and garner one of those belts and have those fights happen to where he still keeps winning, and Bob Arum keeps making money off of him.
Hey, Gonzalo, you just hit a nail on the head on something. He doesn't just win one belt. If they disperse, he'll get to win all of them because Bob will put him in line for those unless a PBC fighter, I think Gary Antoine Russell would be one of them, would be the only one that I know of that's ranked anywhere in 140 pounds that would keep him from unifying all the belts. So he'd be able to jump in and just collect all of them because PBC doesn't have anything there. That's the only company that won't do business with Top Rank. Matchroom will, Golden Boy with whatever they have will, and so PBC would have to be the only blocking factor, and the only talent they have there right now is someone who's not quite ready yet in Gary Antoine Russell, but he's almost there. So if they unify the belts before he gets there, then they get to play the waiting game. Oh, you're ranked number one by the WBO, but nobody else. Okay, we'll defend the WBO 2 years from now because we got to defend the WBC, the WBA, and the WBO first on our mandatories.
So there's a lot. That's the way the question was asked, because there's a lot of permutations here at play. There's Lomachenko has to win, then Lopez has to be willing to continue. First of all, he has to beat Kombucha, and then he has to be able to make 135 again. So I think there's a lot of things at play here.
It's a lot of what ifs right now.
Exactly.
Nakatani, I got Lomachenko beating him, but that's a tough fight, bro. It's a tough fight.
Exactly. Yeah, tough fight. It's a big height and reach disparity. Lomachenko is older now, so we'll see what happens. But anyway, listen,
he's a little battle worn too with the shoulder injuries.
Yeah. So we'll talk more about that as the fight nears.
Oh shit!
Hey, that sounds like the siren for the curfew here in the Philippines at 9 p.m.
That's the purge, baby. All right, so let's move on to the next question then. Where am I here? Okay. Next question is. All right, this one is a bit of a bizarre one. Leonard Ellerbe, CEO of Mayweather Promotions, recently said this week that Tank Davis is the biggest name at super featherweight, lightweight, and junior welterweight. Is he correct in stating that, especially based on the fact that Tank Davis' pay-per-view against Santa Cruz did between 200 to 250 100,000 pay-per-view buys, according to Compinger. What do you fellas think? Is he deluded?
I think 130, he would be the biggest star there. At 135, no, and at 140, no. Not the biggest star there.
But who's bigger than, like, who's more recognizable than him? Is Josh Taylor a bigger star than Tank Davis?
Josh Taylor is a bigger star than him right now. He has more status at 140.
Yeah, amongst us maybe, but at the same time, first of all, I never want to agree with Leonard Ellerbe unless I know his facts are straight, because I don't trust much that comes out of the money team's mouth unless it's documented in front of you. But the pay-per-view numbers were solid for first pay-per-view. That was his first pay-per-view, correct? Against Leo Santa Cruz?
Yes.
Yeah, how much of that was Santa Cruz?
Okay, true. We all in here know that Mark Carpenter's not the most reliable source, but let's pretend for a second, for the sake of argument, it's real. Okay? Floyd's first numbers against Arturo Gatti, who was a star, were 350,000. So if 250,000 against Leo Santa Cruz, a bantamweight who can't punch, and he was able to sell 250, if those numbers are real, that is an arguable point that he may be a bigger selling point than the rest of them. Now, they say he sold out Atlanta. I know for a fact he didn't when whichever fight he took on there, because I know how big the Omni is, and I know how many seats it has, and I know how many seats they said they sold, and that wasn't 100%.
Wasn't it the Santa Cruz fight that was in Atlanta? No, it wasn't. It was in Texas or some shit, right?
I think it was the Gamboa fight was in Atlanta. And
yeah, Gamboa was in Atlanta, and it seats 21,000 for boxing, and they sold 14,200 and something. So it was a third empty. Yeah, no, listen, Ellerbe is he's a gopher in a $5,000 suit. Dude is dumb as a bag of rocks. Have you ever listened to him fucking try to talk? Listen, I'm just being straight up to you. I'm not even trying to be an asshole, but he's dumb. He talks past points like they're facts without establishing the actual fact. He does it all the time.
He's got a big ass nose too, so you know he knows. He knows.
He knows.
He's talking out of his nose, man. That's the problem.
Oh man. Yeah, but Jimmy. So
anyway,
yeah.
Go ahead, BDA.
No, you guys go.
Well, I mean, it's an arguable point. It's not a factual point. It's an arguable point. We have one pay-per-view versus, I don't know if anybody else has really had a pay-per-view down between those three weight classes. It's sold decently well from what the numbers were projected by Carpenter. Again, not the most reliable source. But what we have in front of us is, selling-wise, they can make that argument. However, ... I don't believe that makes him the man to go to or the biggest star at 140. Josh Taylor's going to be the man there, and he can fight over in England for the rest of his career if he wants to.
That's true.
And make Tank have to go to him. And if Tank has to come to him because he's only got that regular belt, that he's the king of those regular belts, instead of the super WBA. Anyway, I digress. Then he's going to have to go to Josh Taylor in country. You think they're going to pay him more to come to Wembley Stadium? No, you're coming to my turf. I'm the champion. You're going to have to do what I want. In which case, Tank's not going to be able to stay there unless he just defends his paper belt. Instead of regular, we'll call it the truth, a paper belt. So
that's all it is.
Sooner or later, he's going to have to fight someone of note for a title of note. He had the IBF for a little bit. That was good. I think he was almost WBA super champ. He got stripped from one of those because he didn't make weight. Then he's been on this up and down cycle of titles. Not opponents. His performances have been by knockout, and they've been pretty solid knockouts. So those have been somewhat consistent amongst the level of competition he's facing. But sooner or later, he's going to have to try and win a major title against a major opponent in their weight class. And we're waiting. We're waiting, Leonard, whenever you want to try and put that out there for us.
And can I just say, too, about that? Listen, that company, he's an in-house reporter, like you know, so you don't trust him either, Jay. And that 250,000 is that he sold 250,000 like Mayweather Paul sold 1 million. It is a crock of mother-loving shit. It was tracking to do for other people in the industry, like the same people who Jedi Guy, his people. They were all, the thing is, right? Even if say Bob's a different promotion, but it was Bob. It was the guy with the weird name. And it was Jedi. There's all these different groups that track pay-per-views, and they know how to do it. And they were all formulating around the same number. It was tracking to do between 100 and 125. It didn't do 250. No fucking way. No way. You know, it's laughable. And the reason being, then why doesn't it, just like with Mayweather on Showtime, for time immemorial, the next day they would tweet out the number of pay-per-views sold. Al Heyman put the kibosh on that with both Fox and Showtime. Why would you do that? Why would you suddenly? Because the only one that matters is the provider, because they're the ones paying the tax on it. So they can't say, oh, we just sold 250,000 or we sold 1 million pay-per-views and then pay taxes on 600,000 of them. You see what I'm saying? So you're not going to ever catch the provider lying about the numbers. So instead, the fucking promoters or Ellerbe, who has no problem lying, he does it for a living, and then he turns around and fucking just makes up a number. And it's funny how he used to always use the same numbers that Crawford uses, but then turns around and tells Crawford in a tweet last week or 2 weeks ago that what we're supposed to believe, like your bullshit pay-per-view numbers. He was called up by the fucking his own people, so it's a fucking joke.
Yeah, that's bizarre, man. And again, 250,000 pay-per-view buys, considering that he's fighting a Mexican, those are actually, low number. I mean, look, listen, when you're at the lower weight divisions, 300, 250,000, that's actually good. Those are actually good numbers. Like I remember when Barrera Morales would fight on pay-per-view, that was considered a success. But you can't take Tank Davis 200,000 pay-per-view buys and say, oh yeah, he's the biggest star. I mean, it just seems like Leonard Ellerbe is trying to, like you're saying, he's trying to make a mountain out of a molehill, and it just ain't going to work out.
Well, I mean, all of
go ahead. I just want to say that.
All of TMT's done that. I mean, I've gone on record saying this on here before. They've lied about several things before, and then people want to know what your proof is. Do some research on your own. Don't just take our word for it and think that we're haters. That's not the fact we're hating. We're just trying to get the truth out there for people to follow the abstract parts of boxing that really don't matter. But when you're trying to argue star status...
I'm sorry, Jay, but
go
this
ahead.
question...
What's the question?
Didn't Floyd lie about how much money he made against Chop Corley? And was like busted up there.
I know against Sean by Mitchell, he claimed he made $9 million, and then Boxrec pointed out the profit was 4.5. And I remember he tried to do that. And anybody listening, look this up as a funny conversation. Floyd Mayweather calls into a radio show for R.A. Rugged Man, and Rugged Man rakes him across the coals. During the argument, he claims he made $9 million against Sean by Mitchell, and he just clearly sits there and says, "No, you didn't," and just totally called him out. And Floyd never backed up his claim after he was called out. So, again, I'm not going down the rabbit hole of hating Floyd, but they lie about how much they bring in. You can call it an exaggeration, but what it is it's not fact. And so how you word the adjective before that of the untruths is up to you. But the bottom line is they exaggerate, lie, take it out. It's not factual, hardcore numbers. And then when you call them out to provide them, they don't do it. Robert Guerrero, perfect example. They didn't sell 1 million pay-per-views. They still haven't provided official numbers. And we're in 2021 now, so this was quite some time ago.
Well, listen, I will say this, though, about Tank Davis. Even though he's struggling against Gamboa and he looks inconsistent at times, whatever, at least he's a somewhat entertaining fighter, and he at least knocks out his opponents, because we've been seeing Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney throwing shade at him, as the youngins like to say nowadays. But at least these guys going in there and stopping them. These other dudes that we talked about, Shakur Stevenson, I mean, look, Shakur Stevenson has to be the worst out of all of them. Devin Haney, I liked his performance for the first 9.5 rounds. Then he got cracked and he had to hold on to survive, which wasn't a good look for him. But at least he tried to mix it up in there. Tank Davis, though, Tank Davis, though, is the best one of those guys in terms of results, I would say. But he's got his hands full against Mario Barrios. I've been watching the Barrios versus Akhmedov, whatever fight, which was his best opponent. I don't know if Tank Davis has the activity rate to do what Akhmedov did, especially at 140. So we're going to be talking about that fight, but that's one that I'm very interested in.
Very interested in that fight too, man.
Are you going to buy the pay-per-view?
I believe all of us are.
Well, Jimmy, I cannot purchase this type of pay-per-views from here. For some reason, Showtime pay-per-views, they don't... is it Showtime or BBC, Fox News?
Showtime.
I'm going to have to go to it. If the
this one's part of the Showtime release. The only thing from Fox that I know of so far is Spence Pacquiao.
Okay.
On the run.
All right, so yeah, that's it for Tank Davis. Good points, fellas, and you cleared up a lot of stuff as well. Let's go. By the way, let me don't forget to hit the like button, fellas. Hit the like, and let me read a couple of super chats here, real quick. All right, Michael Poe. Shout out to Michael Poe who says, "This is for Ellerbe's nostrils." Butch just scolded me earlier for putting too many Ellerbe photos up, so I'm gonna have to stop. But Michael, thank you for your contribution. Really appreciate it. Shout out to G Boogie, the original Boogie. He says Leonard Ellerbe needs his nose to deflate. He needs his nose to deflate. First of all, his statement is incorrect. That's right, G Boogie. Thank you for your contribution. Good looking out, man. Thank you, fellas, for your contributions. And Jimmy keeps putting. Jimmy keeps putting all these fucking memes. Are these from Haymanites or?
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to the next question of the day, which is, what is this? Hold on a second. It's a new format, so I'm still getting into it. Okay. I heard some people saying that Fury is a cherry picker compared to Joshua, because look at everyone's Joshua fought, including a Usyk fight, which will probably take place, they saying, in September, I think. So is Fury a cherry picker compared to Anthony Joshua?
No. I don't believe so. He took on Fury. I mean, Wilder, for all his horrible abilities, can crack. He can hit. You know what I mean?
He came in there as the B-side fighting him.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. So, no, I don't believe he's a cherry picker. I think the kid will fight just about anybody. It might have been the way things lined up. You know what I mean? I just don't personally. I believe he thinks he has the confidence, or I believe he has the confidence that he can beat anybody at heavyweight. So, no, I don't believe he's a cherry picker. Was he cherry picking earlier in his career? You know what I mean? Was it more crafted? You know, maybe. I didn't follow it then, but no. Hey, by the way, I just want to say, step back 1 second. If Josh Taylor fought at Wembley Stadium next time, that could pull 60,000 fucking people if it was allowed. You know, no COVID restrictions. Go put fucking Davis in the Atlanta Dome. Let's see if he pulls 60,000. Ain't happening.
Exactly. And good luck getting Tank Davis to travel abroad. Errol Spence did it. I don't think Tank Davis would be willing to do
So did Crawford, by the way. People forget that. His first title was against Ricky Burns in England.
Oh, come on. That was 12 years ago, man. Come on. No, I'm kidding.
He went abroad to win a title is my point.
Yeah, I know.
To win a title.
I know. I'm just busting your balls a little bit because I know you're a Crawford backer. But listen, in terms of Joshua versus Fury, I think it's if I try to make the point, I'm not saying that I agree with this, but he fought Wilder, who's a glorified puncher, essentially. Yes, he's dangerous, but he's a glorified puncher. We pointed out his flaws here ad nauseum. So, if you really want to think about it, Fury fought Klitschko in 2015, and since then, his best opponent is Wilder, whom he's going to fight a third time. Meanwhile, Joshua's gone through Ruiz, Parker, Povetkin.
But he got knocked out by Ruiz. We gotta remember the first fight, and that was a cherry pick. He just went wrong. You know, that's all that happened there. And maybe Ruiz is a little bit better than he thought.
Recognize. Don't forget, he was gonna fight Gerald Big Baby Miller, and Miller could have maybe tired him out in that fight. Big motherfucker, 300 pounds, good stamina for a guy his size. We all know Joshua's got, so stamina. So. He wasn't cherry picking then, and now he's fighting Usyk. So compared to him, is Fury a little bit of a cherry picker? That's the question.
But he has no choice to fight Usyk. Usyk, he pushed it. He pushed his mandatory.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it wasn't like Usyk was the guy he wants to fight. He doesn't want to fight Usyk right now. He'd love to fight somebody else. Why take the chance of risk losing again before getting that unification shot? No, Usyk pushed his mandatory. He said, it's not about money. I don't want the money. I want the fight. So what could he do? Either give his belt up or fight him. So, you know what I mean? Kind of hard to say he called the dude out or was, looking for him.
If we're talking entire careers, though, go ahead, Gonzalo.
So I was just going to say, he took a few soft touches in between when he fought Francisco Pianeta, I believe that's his name. Then Tom Schwartz, then Otto Wallin, that almost backfired on him. So yeah, they're a little bit softer than the other guys that Joshua faced.
Did you do that on purpose, Wally?
But for going an entire career, he cherry pick on the way up. A lot of people are carefully matched with matchmakers on the way up. Then he fights Klitschko. Then he goes into rehab and kind of disappears for a while. So then he comes out of retirement with no belt, so there's no mandatory person to have to fight. So is it a cherry pick, or is it something to try and market yourself into getting a title shot? I mean, that's not always the same thing. There's a difference between those 2 points of view. A cherry pick is, I've got all these people to fight. That's the toughest guy. I'm going down here towards the left to the easiest guy. That's a cherry pick. Trying to get yourself re-ranked when you're coming out of suspension and you're shaking off like a year and a half to 2 years of ring rust. It's not the same thing. I'm not excusing him. I'm just saying he also hasn't had a belt to push mandatory challengers, more recognizable names, because when he came out of retirement, he had no belt. He didn't get a belt till he fights Wilder. It's a draw, no belt. Then he beats Wilder, and then we had COVID and this mess that we have in front of us, and now he's got the WBC belt and so on and so forth, and he has to fight Wilder. So he hasn't had the same governing bodies to force these certain people, the recognizable names that we know, in front of him. So it's kind of an open forum for him, other than the title fights that he's had. He hasn't had many of them.
Yeah, that's an interesting element that I missed. That's true. It's a lot of these fighters go on based on what the sanctioning bodies say, and Fury's been all over the place. And in fact, though, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but there's some people out there in the community saying that they're starting to believe that Fury wasn't actually having mental problems. He was just partying, and then he came up with the whole mental problems issues to try to gain some sympathy from the fans. Because it seems...
Well, when you're doing drugs at that point, there's issues anyways, brother. Whether it's depression or whether it's manic, you know what I mean? There's something going on. Nobody snorts cocaine and drinks like that unless they're trying to quiet some demons in their head.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point, man. That's a good point as well. It's just the only thing that I was wondering.
That's all I make it.
Yeah, my question was, is there any reason to doubt Tyson Fury? And some people, based on the fact that his side was saying that the fights, they want the fight, they want the Joshua fight, and then it fell apart. Some people are blaming Fury for that, and now they're casting aspersions on his character, which, by the way, I don't know about whether he's that much of a liar. When I was doing the documentary on Fury Wilder, we did a lot of research, and I got to know Fury better than I did before. He seems like a bit of a crazy fella. But like you said, Jimmy, if he was partying a lot, coke, alcohol, and all that, it's either chicken or the egg type situation. Either he had the mental problems and that's why he fell into all that, or just all that drinking and coke actually created mental problems. But
you create your own demons, exactly. And listen, what I believe the person who told me that Bob was literally shocked by that arbitrator's decision. So I believe wholeheartedly he was telling Fury, there's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to worry about. You're fighting Joshua. You know what I mean? I really believe that. So if Bob kind of had any doubts or anything, and he wanted to pay Eddie back by having Eddie fly to Saudi Arabia, spend all that money to make a fight that he knew, because I always think when he said, come back on you, Eddie, and he tried to, submarine him on the fucking Teal fight. So, but I still don't believe Fury was in on it. Because why, if you're Bob, why would you let him in on it? There would be no reason. Because you don't know. He's kind of a loose cannon. Would he let slip? You know what I mean? It wouldn't make good sense to let him in on it.
Yeah, that's an interesting aspect for that equation that explains that perhaps Arum wasn't trying to bamboozle Eddie Hearn. Real quick, fellas. Chief, go ahead, and then I'll go to the phone. I'll go to the phone list later. Go ahead, Chief.
It's usually best practice to leave the fighter out of it for plausible deniability. The fighter can always say, "I never ducked anyone," if they don't know they ducked somebody. So if you don't let them in on the secret, then they can always tell the truth, and then there's an aspect of truth to the product you created of this fighter. And unfortunately, I have to bring this in. In Floyd's case, he was his own promoter and his own manager and everything else. That's a different story. But for most fighters that don't run their own show, if you leave them out of it, then they're telling the truth when they think they fought everybody and they did the best they could.
That's the other thing. Yeah, these fighters.
Remember, BDA. I was going to say, the thing I always live by, two can keep a secret if three can keep a secret if two are dead. So, you know what I mean? That's the old Hell's Angel adage. That was one of their lines.
Jeez Louise. By the way, we do not condone criminal activities here. BD Boxing. All right, fellas.
I do. No, I'm just
All right, real
Will
quick.
I have to?
Real quick, let's go to phone.
I'm going to church.
Yeah, there you go. 386, you're on the air. 386. Question of the day. Is Fury a cherry picker compared to Anthony Joshua?
Absolutely, they're both pussies and cherry pickers. And when you do a show early in the day, you gotta let a brother know. You know, I gotta take a little break from work. I gotta plan these things out. You know.
Hey Jackson, I put it on the Discord, man, and on Twitter, I believe.
Oh well, I must have missed it. Darn it! But they're all pussies. I rank my two top heavyweights right now are Usyk and Joyce. Joshua does fight everybody. I'll give him that, but there's just something. I just don't think he's that good. Fury, they knew something about that third fight. They could have canceled the contract, and they didn't. I hear what Jimmy's saying, that Bob was shocked when the arbitrator made his decision, but they still knew. And I honestly, I hate Wilder because of his fan base, but I still like to see him knock out what's his name, the big gypsy pussy. Like I'm off Team Fury.
Well, there you go, man. I think a lot of people dislike Anthony Joshua based on the fact that he's of a bigger name and a bit of the darling of the UK, whereas Fury is the redheaded stepchild. Whoops. All right.
Damn it! Now we got the freaking stopwatch.
Yeah. Well, we got to move on from certain subjects. We can't. This is good because otherwise we can spend all fucking day, and it sort of mixes it up because then we can do a special show where we don't use a timer and we focus all our attention on one subject. So, Jackson, that's that. We're gonna move on from that. We're gonna move on from that question, but I'll let you listen. I want you to answer.
Can I say one more thing?
But hold on. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say, Fury. Ever since he remember he was talking to Klitschko in that one-on-one thing, and he totally lied to him about like some scenario where they were both in a steam shower and like who could last the longest, and he makes up all those things. So who didn't say he made up all that stuff when he was like about to commit suicide? You can never believe a pathological liar. So I'll just never listen to anything Fury or take whatever he has to say serious again. But I'm out, fellas.
All right, Jackson, thank you for your call, man. I don't know if he was in a steam shower. I think it was a sauna, he said. So steam shower makes it sound a little bit more dirty, but salacious.
Hey, BDA,
yes.
That fucking siren you used from The Purge, dude, that gets my heart like a little jump every time it goes off. Because that was the reason being, dude, that was the identical fucking horn they used at the prison. On a fucking code. Yeah, they would use that in an escape attempt, or if an inmate was being, or if a guard was being attacked.
When they were locking down the
exactly.
So now we know
you're taught to make sure you get to a secure place, because you don't want to be the one caught, by the inmates and they pass you around like a joint.
That sound is the sound that gets you heard it from Jimmy, gets him pumped up, gets him a little hard for the coming war that will be taking place in a couple of years.
Well, Jimmy, you didn't say all that. That's just his mind.
That's what Jimmy's envisioning in his head when he hears that alarm. I know when the purge comes, there's not going to be any emergency services available. That's what they said in the movie. So,
how you can tell that fucking machine gun you were shooting? How you can tell it was a Thompson machine gun that shoots the 45? It sounds just like a typewriter. That's why they used to call it the Chicago typewriter. It sounds like a typewriter going real fast.
Man, Jesus! Listen, fellas, if you want to ask Jimmy a question about weapons, about firearms, he is the man to contact because he knows it. He knows a lot, man. Things you wouldn't even imagine about guns. He knows about them. Shout out to Marky Dan123 in the chat room who said for his contribution with the super chat says how AJ fight everyone and is still a cherry picker. Yeah, I think he's asking a rhetorical question. How he's fighting everyone, but why is he still considered a cherry picker? That's the thing, though. I mean, some people say he's a cherry picker. Look, look at his record, man. You can't tell me he's dogged somebody. I mean, I guess some people could say that he dogged Wilder if you want to get into that whole who dogged who, but look at his record. Speaks for itself.
Yeah, but he offered him $150 million, didn't he? 120 guaranteed for 3 fights.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that the fucking fight that got that actually happened because what's the name got fired over it? Fucking DeBella got fired from the PBC because he was trying to really make it. So Eddie Hearn offered Wilder a guaranteed $120 million, not some nebulous. We're going to give you $50 million. We're not going to tell you where the money's coming from. We're not going to give you a cashier's check. But you only have till tomorrow by 12 to sign it, yes or no. That was so fucking shady. I've seen coke deals more upfront than that.
Jeez, Louis. I mean, I'm telling you, man, boxing, that's why I don't like to get into the whole negotiation and politics of all that. Real quick, shout out to Michael Poe for his contribution with the Super Chat. Says Tyson gets knocked down in the 8th, bet the farm. Oh, but I think that's because Michael Poe thinks that there's going to be some shenanigans around the Wilder Fury rubber match, which it's going to happen in about a month from now, fellas. So we got to start getting ready for the pandemonium that will ensue in the lead up to the fight.
Did they sign for that?
Wait, what are you trying to get at? Recognize you're saying that.
Hey, did they sign?
They did.
Recognize they did, brother.
Yeah,
it's all signed.
The date is July 24th, right?
Yes, indeed. We're going to be getting quite an event.
Yeah, that's why Tyson Fury. That's why Tyson Fury is staying off of social media. He's concentrating on the fight. He's getting prepared.
Yeah.
He's taking it seriously. He's all or nothing. When he's on, he's on. You know what he told us the first time he was going to knock Wilder out in the first 2 rounds or 3, and that's what he did. He dropped him.
He's saying this time he's going to punish him. This time he says he's actually mad at him. That's what he said.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what he said. One of the last things he said. Before, I just wanted to knock him out because of his mouth, but now he dislikes him because obviously he called all gypsies crooks, all the shit he said about his character. And think about it, that obviously, right, for the juiciness of it, Wilder losing would be the best because it would send the fucking LDBC into orbit. Just imagine the spin they would try to put on it.
Yeah, somebody needs to tell the LDBC fellas that gypsy lives matter. We need to remind them of that, and because I don't think they get it. I think they're pretty biased and bigoted by not recognizing that gypsy lives matter. Shout out to Savior Sammy for his contribution with the super chat. Says Wilder fought Ruiz, AJ fought Parker Povetkin, and Fury fought a cruiserweight by the name of Steve Cunningham. All right, Savior Sammy, thank you for your contribution, and your point is very well taken. Listen, we're going to move on from that. We're going to go to a red question here. Red question. Would you watch, which one would you rather watch? A Shakur Stevenson fight, or if Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley happen on that same night? Hypothetically, let's say Stevenson was fighting on one night and Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley on the other channel. Which one would you tune in for?
Stevenson, not even a question. Because regardless, at the end of the day, it's a boxing match. The other thing's a fucking clown show where you win stupid prizes.
I've got 5,000 fights collected. I'll go back to one of those.
You gotta pick one, Chief.
But that wasn't an option, brother, man.
I have that option at my house, and everybody else does. It's not my fault.
Nah, come on, man.
All right, if I have to pick one, probably Stevenson, and especially if it's against a quality opponent.
Yeah, let's say it's against a quality opponent. Gonzalo, reckon?
I'd rather watch. Sorry about the noise in the background. I'd rather watch Del Boy talk about his gore movies.
Snuff films. Yeah, wait the fuck? Hey, I'm trying to look for a picture here of Jake Paul versus Woodley, and I had on the related searches results rather. There's a bunch of fucking shirtless dudes. What the fuck? That's not the. All right, but yeah, okay. So
I'll probably watch Woodley versus Jake Paul for the knockout. That'd be interesting. The other guy, depending on the opponent, it's like watching paint dry or the grass grow. Not that exciting.
Yeah, that's the thing though, because look, if it's Shakur Stevenson versus some bottom top 10 guy, I already know Shakur Stevenson is going to outbox him. The other guy might have a chance of catching him with one shot, but other than that, you already know Shakur Stevenson what he's going to do. He's going to go one punch at a time. He's going to be afraid of getting caught. And that's the way it's going to be. With Paul versus Woodley, hey, you never know. It could be a circus act, but it could be an entertaining circus act. So, I mean, that's the way it goes, man.
But so isn't watching fucking squirrels fighting for garbage. You know what I mean? Just go to any nightclub at 2:00. You'll catch some fucking knuckleheads punching each other's teeth out. You just want to see tough man competitions, you know?
But that's the thing, though, Jimmy. Which one would you rather watch then? An entertaining fight between a bunch of YouTubers and the former MMA guys, or Shakur Stevenson dance around, throw one shot?
Well, because I'm Shakur Stevens any day because I've seen so many fucking street fights, so many after the club knucklehead brawls that I'd rather see someone in there, at least you have some skill.
All right. So from what I gathered, the answers were Chief says, "Look, I got thousands of fights collected. I'd rather pick one of those than watch either one." Recognize says he'd rather watch Del Boy talk about snuff films than to watch either of these guys fight. Jimmy said, "Listen, he'll go with Shakur Stevenson." And Gonzalo, what was your answer? I don't think you answered the question.
I think he said he'd go with Paul. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I thought I heard him say.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah, he did say Jake Paul because it could be he would go for the knockout.
He said it was like paint dry and grass growing.
All right. So yeah, okay, that's the red question. And you know what we're gonna do? We're actually gonna reset the clock because that's it for that question. I mean, what else do you want? Let me go to another question here. Chris Eubank recently claimed that BJ's, that's Billy Joe Saunders, quit against Canelo. How interested would you be in a Eubank-Saunders rematch?
Hit that fucking siren.
I think Eubank would beat the shit out of him.
Well, what I've heard is Saunders is retired now.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he said he might. He said he might retire. He said he's going to talk to his father, the king of the gypsies, and then he'll take his word from there.
And it's one of them. One of them.
You see that? Well, I saw a kid quit last night. Did you see that kid fought Pedraza?
Uh-huh.
He got tired of being beaten up. He wasn't fucking his eye. He was holding that shit closed. He had probably at worst a scratch cornea. You know what I mean? Cornea.
Mm-hmm. And that's the other thing.
Nothing like a broken face.
Because one of the articles I was reading about Eubank calling Billy Joe Saunders a quitter, some people were saying, well, you could tell that his eye was that his orbital bone was broken, and some people were saying, well, where's the evidence? I was rewatching Kell Brook vs. Triple G, and if you look at Kell Brook's swollen eye, it just it looks swollen at first glance. It doesn't seem like anything out of the ordinary, but Triple G didn't indeed break his face, so. When people say, well, Billy Joe Saunders' eye didn't look, his eye socket didn't look broken, I think if you just go by the eye and you don't know exactly what you're looking at, I think it's easy to believe that he quit just based on a normal injury. But indeed, his eye socket was broken. Or am I taking things out of context here, fellas?
It was
no, it was broken. The only difference was he didn't have sustained punishment. Like Dubois or like Margarito, where the opponent kept, because that happened against Pacquiao, but then it also happened against Cotto for Margarito. He took sustained punishment after the Pacquiao fight with Miguel Cotto. So that's where the damage comes from. It
looks like Quasimodo.
Yeah, I was actually talking to Boo Boy Fernandez about that. Was it 2 days ago? Because I told him, yeah, he broke his face. I mentioned the whole thing about Saunders, and I told him that's what Pacquiao did to Margarito. But then he told me, yeah, that's where it started. But in reality, it was Cotto who did the damage. That's what Boo Boy told me.
The first fight then against Cotto. Is that what you're saying?
Well, the fight after that, I think that must have been the second fight.
Well, he fought Pacquiao. He fought Pacquiao and then Cotto a second time. Oh, okay. So you're saying that?
Yeah, the second fight with Cotto, that's where he got the damage with broken eye socket, the sustained beatings.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. So Pacquiao started the damage, but it was Cotto in that second fight that really busted it up even more in their rematch. That makes sense. But yeah, man, because I mean,
that's the same thing that happened to Kell Brook. Right.
That's what when they stopped the fight with what's his name? With Cotto. It was when Margarito was coming on. Go look at that fight. Go look at the end. Margarito was coming on, bro.
and well, with Spence, Jesus, with Kell Brook, it started with Golovkin, but it ended bad with Errol Spence.
Mm-hmm.
When you get a broken eye socket, like, well, I mean, something can be said that if you break one, the other becomes weaker.
Well, you know what? Listen, when it comes to Billy Joe Saunders versus Chris Eubank, Billy Joe Saunders said something interesting. He said, well, Eubank's never beaten anybody. So in a way, isn't he sort of discrediting his own win over Chris Eubank?
Well, can I say something to recognize? It doesn't mean that Margarito wasn't coming on. Okay, he was. Just the way he stayed tough against Pacquiao, but still made it to the bell. He got some damage on that fight, and he kept getting damage in the second fight. Whether he was winning or losing, it's not a question whether he had hard or not, or he was looking for the win. Just he keeps taking a beating to the place of your body that's already injured. It's only going to get injured more, right? That's just logic,
what
right?
I'm saying is, if you look at the stoppage, at the time of the stoppage, Margarito was putting work on Cotto. Cotto looked like he was about to fade out again. If you look at that fight, man.
I definitely
Cotto was known for fading. Cotto was known for he faded against Mosley. All the way back before he became a major star, he faded against Lovemore to do. So he had a tendency to kind of taper off late in fights. The reason why I didn't like his show against Zab Judah was low blows or not. He put such a beating on Zab. Zab couldn't bring anything on in the second half of the fight. But everybody else he pretty much fought. I mean, that's what cost him against Mayweather. Mayweather won like the first 4 rounds or so. He came on, and then roughly around the 8th round, he tapered off, and that's why Mayweather won. It wasn't an adjustment. Cotto ran out of gas. And it's not supposed to be a knock against Mayweather. It's the fact that Cotto doesn't finish his big fights in the upper echelon fights. He fades. That's just his MO. That's what happens to him.
So like the point I'm trying to make is, okay, if Billy Joe Saunders is contemplating retirement, but let's say he comes back, he could be winning a fight, and all of a sudden he catches a punch or two, and he's messed up again, right? That could happen, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. And look, listen, how much did he make against Canelo? 7 mil or something like that? Anybody know? Well, let's
supposedly 8 million.
I'll look it up and get back to you.
8 million.
All right, 8 mil for him, and all the other money he's made beforehand, which I'm assuming he's made solid money. He probably is thinking now, look, like you said, Gonzalo, my eye could get even more injured next time and badly damaged, permanently damaged. I got a whole bunch of money in the bank now. I'm going to take it easy now. Stop fighting. But the question then becomes, is he willing to abandon what he does best, which is boxing, for the rest of his life? You know what I mean? Because he could still go off.
I mean, okay, so he caught a punch, then he went to the corner. It was like in the end of the round, and so maybe he can heal. He can heal to where, like, a fighter like Dubois, who sustained also like a shattered orbital bone, but he kept fighting. That might be a little bit harder to heal. So it's just like a case by case basis, right? We don't know. Look at Inoue. Does that mean he's damaged goods? I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I tell you what, though, about Inoue, though, that's going to be the question of the day for another episode. This Desmarinas guy that he's fighting, he's pretty crude in a lot of ways, but he's a hard puncher, man. These fucking Thai guys, I think he's from Thailand or the Philippines, one of those Southeast Asian countries. He cracks pretty hard. So if he cracks Inoue in that debilitated bone of his, yeah, it could be trouble too. So those eye injuries, they're no joke, man. And the thing about Billy Joe Saunders, though, is, again, he's a guy that likes to go the distance. He's not a big puncher, so if he's going the distance, 12 rounds here, 12 rounds there, the likelihood that he gets punched and injured again is pretty high compared to other fighters. So who knows what he's gonna do? And Chris Eubank, say what you want about the fella, he's pretty aggressive and a good, decent puncher. So wouldn't you guys be interested in that fight a little bit? A rematch?
Chris Eubank, I would more. I mean, listen, that's if really Joe Saunders is coming to fight and coming to win. It'll be a good fight. But if he's coming to lay down because of his broken eye, it's one of them broken eye things, then he's just gonna fucking fold apart. Same thing that happened with Canelo.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna fold apart once he gets hit with a hard shot because he's already used to doing that now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to see it as a main event. I wouldn't mind seeing it, but not as a main event.
Right,
No.
like an undercard. Put it in an undercard.
Exactly. Well, BDA, did you get that picture I sent?
Yeah, what is that? What am I looking at here?
Well, that's if you actually look at that picture, I don't know if you can post it. If you just look at Saunders' right cheek, you can actually then look at the left. You can actually see the left cheekbone, and you look at the right. It's literally missing. It's concaved. And then another way you can tell, follow the eye line. The right eye is literally drooping down the corner, opposed to the left. His whole face is sunken in.
I believe that there's something bad that happened there.
Oh, I didn't know that. I wasn't. I didn't know you were saying it wasn't. I was just saying just.
I believe
okay,
that
brother.
there was something bad happened there. But what I'm saying is, Saunders wasn't there. He wasn't there to win.
Oh no, dude, that was the first out he took. Yeah. Oh, without a doubt, dude. But then again, at the same token, if I was him, I had that broken face, knowing I wasn't going to get a decision unless I knocked him out, and there was zero chance I was knocking out. He was going for a moral victory, like his fucking countryman. He was just hoping to get his hand raised at the end of 12. That's all. And once he got his face broke, why end up looking like Quasimodo, like fucking Margarito did?
Yeah, and somebody was putting videos there of Margarito, how he's looking now.
Walk down.
That's it for that question. Hey, I actually thought that we were going to have to bail on that question, but we took it to the full 10 minutes. Good job, fellas. What was I going to say? Yeah, Margarito's looking like an Orthodox priest with a long-ass beard. It's white now. I mean, the guy, time flies by, man, and this guy's looking like a Russian Orthodox priest who's living in the mountains fighting vampires at night. Shout out to Michael Poe for his contribution with the super chat. He says, Triple G picture with Lopez, 150 pounds, Lopez on fight night. No way he's moving up anytime soon. I think he's talking about Triple G not moving up because he still looks light, or Lopez not moving up anytime soon. Anyway, Michael Poe, thank you for your contribution, man. Really appreciate it. All right, now listen. I had another question here. I don't know I don't know if we can stretch this one out. Oh no, what was it? This one? No. Okay, the last question I had was, is Terence Crawford's career path one of the most frustrating ever? Because they're talking about now putting him on pay-per-view in October, but they still haven't mentioned an opponent. So you guys want to take this one, or should we move on to something else before we end this?
Considering that's the glamour division, the welterweights, and the run he had at 40, this is less than remarkable what he's done at 47. Because the claim to fame that he can be put into the Hall of Fame is the work that he did in the divisions beneath. But what he's done now at the age that he is, especially if he's going to fight in October, that means he's almost going to be like 35, I don't know. And there's nowhere in sight where, Errol Spence is locked up with Manny, that he's going to get that marquee opponent, because he's got the talent, right? He's got the talent, but he's just not delivering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing, though. It's he just, they're talking about putting him on in pay-per-view, but who's his... First of all, his pay-per-view against Khan already did horrible numbers, so you'd have to assume that the only fight I'd be interested in pay-per-view of buying, and that's even worth of a pay-per-view, obviously, would be maybe like, I guess, a Josh Taylor type fighter. But even then, it's not like those guys are, you know what I mean, that's a big star, so why are they putting that in pay-per-view? Is it because they can't pay Crawford what he wants just by putting him on regular ESPN, or what's going on here?
Probably.
I think that's the case, because I mean, if his contract states that he gets $4 million guarantee no matter what, then they have to recoup the money somehow. But that means that the other guys don't get as much money. I think that's what the problem going with Sean Porter. My argument that I've had with people online is, what is Sean Porter worth? They keep saying he's, $2 million isn't worth enough. You get an exciting guy who goes the distance with every fight, is less than 50% knockout ratio, who's lost every big fighter he's fight, and did not want to fight Terence when he had a belt. How is he worth more than $2 million? That's not my life in the ring. I get that. It's not my life on the line. But from a business point of view, what does Sean Porter bring to the ring to mandate more than a $2 million guarantee? I mean, he's a name, but he's a name that nobody else is calling out one to fight right now. He's sitting unemployed in front of his microphone in his house doing his little talk show and doing nothing else. Now, Boots Ennis is calling him out. Virgil Ortiz is calling him out, but he doesn't want to fight those guys. He's even gone on record saying they'll have to be a mandatory for me to want to fight them. But since you don't have a belt, they're never going to be a mandatory, so you're not going to fight them. So you're not going to fight Errol Spence again. No one cares about you and Danny Garcia again. This is the only fight out there for you. And again, no one else is calling you on the phone saying, "Hey, we need you in the ring against this guy." So why are you turning down when half the country is unemployed right now? You're not taking $2 million. Justify that.
Al Heyman told him not to.
You and I both know that, but for everybody else out there,
no, but I know, but that's how disgusting it is. He can't because Al won't allow it. They mustn't. Put it this way: there's little cracks every now and then. If you read between the lines, these guys get frustrated and they say stuff. Because listen, unlike anybody else inside PBC contracts, you're not allowed to say anything negative, not only about the fucking PBC, Al Heyman, but other fighters while they're still under contract with the PBC. Disparagingly speak about them. And so Jamal Charlo kind of went on a tear there last week on Instagram saying, all right, I'll find, because he knows this Montel's a joke. He said, listen, I'm going to keep fighting who they, and he made a point to put a pronunciation on they tell me to fight. And he means Al Heyman. Because none of these guys, they fight who Al Heyman says. They're not like, again, I can't stress enough. They can't even negotiate, meaning their managers. Every one of them has a manager, has a stable manager, whatever. Their managers can't even negotiate with other fighters without Al giving written permission. Not his permission, written permission. So that's the reason why. I guarantee, because he sounds like a fool for the answer he gave. I want more than $2 million. Wait a minute. You say that Spence is the boogeyman of the division. He's the A side all day, all night. You got $2 million to fight the A side, but Crawford, you want $3 million, $4 million?
Yeah, why would you want $3 million versus Bud?
Because he needed to say something, right? Because if he would have said, "Well, because Al Heyman won't let me," he kind of sounds like a donkey.
Now, the number I've been getting from the delusionals is that he's worth more 4 or 5, and that Porter is. And based off of what? Based off I look, his life's on the line. He's had a long amateur career. I get all. Yeah, I know that's what it is, and I get all this. And I like Sean Porter as a fighter. He's exciting. I think that they're overrating him because I don't think he can beat Bud. I don't think he can beat Ennis. I don't think he can beat Virgil Ortiz. He couldn't beat Danny. He could barely beat Danny Garcia, who's not a great welterweight. So I have no faith that he's going to do anything.
He went life and death with Granados, bro. Remember?
Yeah. Well, he went life and death with
that's the reason.
Too.
That's the reason he would take $3 million. He wouldn't be willing to take any less because if you lose against him, you will never make. You will never make $3 million ever again. That's your ceiling. That's the only reason. If you mark your ceiling as being higher, even if you lose in your next fight, like Kovalev, when he fought Canelo, you can still cash in $3 million, so to speak.
But where would he get it though? Even if you know what I mean. So he sits back though, and I understand what you're saying, Gonzalo. But $2 million is better than no million. Like he's like Jay said, he's not getting paid. He's not going to get paid for the rest of the year. And who else is going to know? You got all these up and comers. You got Boots on his heels. You got Virgil Ortiz. You got all these guys ready to push these fucking clowns out of the way. So, and I don't mean to call Porter a clown. I like Porter.
Al's eventually going to push him towards them if they're under his contract. If they want to make Boots Ennis a star, that's what they'll do. Okay, you haven't had a title fight. You didn't take anything with Crawford. You didn't negotiate. And behind closed doors, I'm making this up, so don't quote me on this. But I imagine it's like, well, you didn't take any of these other fights. Well, you didn't give me permission to. It doesn't matter. This is all we have left for you, so you can take this or retire. And
yeah, he's going to feed him to Boots Ennis for $850,000.
Yeah, because it won't. They might split a $3 million purse, at most, like Mayweather and Corrales did. At most, they'll split a $3 million to where they're each getting like $1 million and change. But that's it. And then he can't beat them now. He's not going to be able to beat them 2 years down the road. So he's going to age like milk, not like wine. He's not going to get better with time. So it's if you want a title and even a chance at a title, get off your butt and go fight your friend, or you're going to be cannon fodder for one of these up and comers down the road. But that's your only. You might get in the Hall of Fame one day. I don't care. It's not what we're talking about right now. But you're not going to get anything else other than those two options if you don't move soon, because no one else is trying to fight you, and they're not trying to line you up with any tune-up fights.
Porter now, the rumor is he's going to be fighting Thurman. That rematch is going to happen. And the good chances.
If that's a main event, they should be shot.
Well, look, there's good chances that Porter outworks Thurman a little bit more convincingly than he did last time, and he finally gets the big win, if you want to call it that. Even though Thurman, because look, Thurman against Josecito Lopez looked fragile, and then against Oldman Pacquiao, well, he lost that one. So, and he hasn't fought since 2019. So, chances are Porter could potentially outwork him. If he outworks, first of all, this is the first question: how much you guys think he's going to get against Thurman? I know it's a difficult question to answer, but based on past paydays,
$1 million. He's guaranteed he's guaranteed $1 million, so that's what they get.
Well, they got $2 million when they fought on regular TV with Thurman having 2 titles on the line at the time. I think they
get more than that, but they're guaranteed that the lowest they can go is $1 million. I should have said, because that's his minimum. Okay. He gets $1 million, so that would be like where Spence gets 1.25. And the reason why everybody's like, "Oh, Crawford's going to go elsewhere," why? He gets $3 million guaranteed to fight. He gets double than what Spence gets guaranteed. Not counting pay-per-view upside, but I'm talking about straight guaranteed.
He made against Khan what Thurman and Porter and Thurman and Garcia made against each other. Not all 3 of them combined, but what the 2 of them met when Thurman fought Garcia and when Thurman fought Porter. And those 2 individual fights, he made more than both participants in each one of those fights.
I know. You know what's fucked up? If you actually
just against Khan alone,
right? I don't even rate Danny Garcia in the top 10 right now. I can easily name 10. Not that I'm going to, but I'm just saying.
I'm the lone horse that's never ranked him that high in this division.
No, I know. Oh no, I'm not correcting you, dude. I'm just saying.
No, you were correcting him. You were correcting him a little bit. I heard you correct him a little bit.
Yeah, wasn't correcting you. I didn't even think he was talking about Danny.
Jimmy, we're friends. I don't care. Well, that's water under the bridge already. It was 30 seconds ago. So anyway, I've never had Danny Garcia as a top welterweight due to the fact that he hadn't accomplished anything there. He beat Robert Guerrero, who had a significant
win since 2013.
I'm an out-of-shape 200 pounds, and I could still probably beat Robert Guerrero right now. No disrespect to him. He's a featherweight. He's not a welterweight. So what does that mean? So you beat Robert Guerrero for a paper vacant belt that they took from Keith Thurman because he was inactive. That's what you've done at welterweight. Now, that's not to say he's not a skilled fighter. It's not to say he's not an accomplished fighter. It's not to say that at junior welterweight he wasn't a great fighter. I would agree with all.
Boxing Chief is using the Logan Paul logic, right?
Peterson
against Mayweather. You're the bigger guy. You beat the smaller guy, even though he's got skills.
Remember, over with the PBC, you have lockdown.
All right, final statements then on this issue. Is Terence Crawford the whole Terence Crawford, Sean Porter, Errol Spence trifecta? Anybody?
It's extremely frustrating because it doesn't matter which side you're on. If you're on PBC or not, we as fans are already robbed. I don't care how this fight. I don't even care if the fight's ever made now. I don't give 2 craps. Moving on. I'm on to Boots Ennis and Virgil Ortiz. So you guys have missed your opportunity. Now I'm not the majority stakeholder in paying for this. So I don't know what my 2 cents weighs, but I've lost interest because you guys didn't make it happen. We should have had this fight in 2017. 2018ish.
That's the great thing about boxing. All these fighters that think, "Oh, I'm gonna wait it out. They're gonna miss me." No, man. There's always somebody new coming out. There's as long as people out there love to fight, there's always gonna be a new Mexican, a new black fighter, a new Eastern European, and all these other fighters that think they run boxing and that boxing depends on them. Whoopsie daisy, they get left behind with the wind. Hey, that's a good name for a song. Anyway, shout out to Michael Poe for his contribution with the super chat. He says, a little levity here. I said before, the scariest thing ever is a 100-year-old man naked. Okay. That is indeed a horrifying thought, Michael Poe. You're absolutely right about that. Jeez Louise, I didn't need to think about that. All right, now listen. This wasn't an official question, but I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. We've been asking the question whether all these exhibition fights between YouTubers and former fighters and blah blah blah, is it a bad thing for boxing? Well, I don't know. You guys probably saw it all over Twitter. This dude, who I don't know who he is, but apparently he's somewhat famous on TikTok, went around and he slapped Paulie Malignaggi behind the head with I don't know if it's a handful of talcum powder or cocaine or whatever. while Malignaggi was working. So there you see that. Now, the first thing that came to my mind, fellas, was, all right, this could have been staged, to get people talking about it, blah, blah, blah. But I think that the most important question is this a natural byproduct of all these exhibition fights?
This is degeneracy. This is degeneracy. Like, if he did that, let's say if he did that to Paulie without him knowing, Paulie could kill that dude. We don't, you don't remember, Paulie is a trained fighter. So he can switch where the average guy could get caught off guard. And then what happens? Paulie beats the daylights out of him, let's just say, right? He goes beast mode and fucking wrecks this guy's face up. Next thing you know, the guy's suing him.
Yeah, but you know what?
He was throwing body shots at the dude.
Oh, he was throwing body shots at the guy?
Yeah, he started throwing punches at the guy's stomach, not at his face, because he was smart. He hit him in the face and split him open, so he started throwing punches at his body. I think that kid Eric G is trying to goad him into a fight. I think, maybe they've even discussed it, who knows, but I do think that was organic. I think that was him saying, nice cut, and then smack him with the powder, because, they powder you up after you get a haircut in the back of your neck. That's why he did that. He was, lining him up after his haircut.
Oh,
but I think you could see it in Paulie's face. He was pissed. Probably but, he was just, and again, it just adds flavor to if you're into that type of shit, but no, not at all. I don't want to see that. I thought it was funny.
But in a way, Jimmy, that's the crazy about the whole degeneracy thing. It enables the YouTubers and the TikTokers and all these nerds around the world to feel bold about themselves and call people out, like professional fighters. So it kind of it brings those kind of people that got those desires. I could beat that guy because, I'm a nerd, but he's a fighter. But then I saw that guy do it. I can do it too. It's crazy.
You know when this is going to end? When one of those fucking zipper heads gets their face shattered.
And it almost happened. It almost happened to Jake. Is it Jake Paul? Right? Jake Paul ended up with a black eye. I think Floyd and his security guy.
The one that took his hat.
Yeah, when he took his hat, I thought it was funny. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, you're playing. You better be ready for these dudes. You never know. One guy just totally loses it and gives one of these guys the beating of their lives and fucking ruins their face. They're capable of that. These guys are trained athletes. They're capable of doing that.
Wait a minute. Is this the guy, Corey B? This is the dude?
Oh, yeah. He looks like a reject of the Beastie Boys.
Yeah, he looks like a fucking Herb from the 90s who would be walking around with a backpack trying to freestyle it with the homies in the corner of the street. What is this?
Can you click on the
with his golf hat turned upside down sideways?
Yeah, exactly. Which one? Recognize?
No, anyone. I just want to get a closer look at this guy. Who the fuck he is? This dude would get killed. Paulie would fuck him up in a bad way.
He's got soft eyes, dude. He's got soft eyes.
He's soft, bro.
Yeah.
Paulie would break his face.
Look.
This way, if he ended up in the can, you'd take his sneakers.
Paulie was not an entertaining factor of anything of importance outside of a name on somebody else's resume when he was active. Why am I going to want to watch him fight this guy?
Yeah. Exactly.
Did Paulie have skill? Yes. Did he win world titles? Yes. Does he have a resume in boxing that far exceeds anything I'm ever going to accomplish? Absolutely. So don't take this as more disrespectful than it needs to be.
Hey.
After he won,
short, kid.
But after he kind of won the WBA and had a few defenses against the monstrosely degrading, low level of WBA competition that the WBA has been known for since the 80s. Once he stepped up, he usually lost, and he usually lost either convincingly or by knockout.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what Paulie is.
What about when he lost his girl and his belt to Broner?
Oh.
Stop bragging about taking my side piece.
That just shows the class that, we all know what Broner is. So anyway, and that tells you what Broner really is, because guess what? I thought that Paulie almost won that fight.
Yeah, so did I.
So,
no, he did. Yeah.
I thought Paulie won the first 5 rounds easy. So if he almost won, all right, so it's very simple. It's a 12-round fight. The first 1 to 7 wins without any knockdowns. There were no knockdowns in that fight. Paulie won the first 5. So you're trying to tell me he didn't win 2 more rounds before the end of that fight? That Broner swept all 7? I didn't see it that way. Now, I didn't see it as a robbery per se because Paulie didn't do much. But his jab frustrated and befuddled Broner for the first 5 rounds, except for maybe the last 30 seconds when Broner fight started going to the body. But it's 3 minutes. You didn't win 2 minutes and 30 seconds of it. So I thought he won the first 5. And from there, you know, if you think that Broner swept all of the last 7 rounds, congratulations. But this goes back to Paulie. Paulie's not going to be an entertaining factor fighting some kid that makes videos just to try and keep himself busy. Just overrated middle schooler that can't make a living doing anything else. That's just what this is. And no, I'm not entertained by it. I don't even care about it. And no one should actually jump in and try and encourage this.
You know, if this fight between this Mikey B, or what's his name again? Corey B.
Eric G.
Corey B. That's the name I'm looking
at. I know,
at.
Eric G was from the first Real World. I was busting stone.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed that one. I didn't catch it. I never really watched that show. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, Paulie Malignaggi versus this dude. I think they're banking on the fact that most people know about Malignaggi based off the whole Conor McGregor thing. But even then, that was what, 4 years ago. You know, it's not like Malignaggi is really all that mainstream or whatever. But I mean, look, everyone's trying now. All these, I mean, apparently they had an event last night called TikTok versus YouTube, and it was a TikToker guy versus a YouTube guy. And I don't know how well that event did, if at all. But this is what we've got. We also got a phone call here. Somebody wants to weigh in on this. Let's go to the phone call real quick. 773, you're on the air. 773.
Talking shit about my kinfolk.
Please
shit
don't.
about all these fighters bringing some eyes to the sport of boxing. TikTokers. Those are my people, and you're shitting on them. I don't appreciate that.
Hey, what's your TikTok account? We want to know.
Dillhole99.
That's not your fuck. I thought it was something like Mein Kampf 1971 or something like that.
No,
Final
the Polish
solution.
pistol. 1488.
Yeah, okay. No, but seriously, Kevin, listen, here's something people have been talking about. People say, well, look, these TikTokers, they bring eyes to the sport. Yeah, but most of them, they don't even stay for the boxing. They don't show up for the undercards. They don't care about other types of... How many eyeballs is this really bring to boxing? These people don't care about boxing. They care about these TikTokers fighting each other.
Okay, I'll give you the
and they don't
breakdown.
care
I'll
about
tell
it
you
that
what.
much.
I heard this before. I heard this before. It was they're going to increase pay for the boxers because they're seeing how much these TikTokers and YouTubers getting paid. So they're going to force the promoters to start amping up because they see, well, these guys getting paid this much, I deserve to get paid that much. So they're putting pressure on the promoters to step their game up and quit being cheap asses. So I like that point of view, and I also like this point of view. Paulie Malignaggi will knock that guy out. And I see all these clowns clowning Paulie. Everybody likes to clown Paulie, but I like Paulie. He's the only one who called it like it is regarding the Deontay Wilder situation. And
it got him fired.
Everyone else got to tuck their tail and do the little politically correct thing. Not Paulie. He'll come out and tell it like it is. So I like Paulie, and that clown who slapped him when he fucking got his head turned away from him is lucky he didn't get knocked out. Because Paulie would have knocked his ass out. That nerd Wigger would have got knocked out.
But Kevin, none of us didn't knock him out. That tells me he was in on it because, right? Wouldn't he have just thrown one shot and just fucking knocked that goofy little fuck out? The fact that he didn't, he went to the body.
You guys are weighing Paulie a little bit heavy for a guy that couldn't knock people out with protected hands and gloves. I don't necessarily. He beats this guy. He beats him up.
You dumbass.
Those are the fighters.
Don't be a fool.
Yeah, Chief.
He's knocking out that clown. He's knocking out professional boxers, world champion level boxers.
Chief, he's calling you a fool.
Champion.
Oh, I'll take that.
Never disrespect Paulie, you goofball.
Name me one.
Goof. Two-way world champion, you goof.
He's calling you a goof, Chief.
Don't ever.
You're breaking up. I can't hear you.
He's calling you a goof.
60 seconds.
All right.
Ever disrespect him again. I don't know who this new guy on the panel is, but
He's not so
rubbing
well.
me
He's
the
not.
wrong way.
He's
real
not so new,
opinionated.
man. He's not so new. He's chief. He's been around for a couple of months now,
Hey,
so you better put some
who's the
respect
guy
on
you
him.
got? Who's the new guy on the panel that's supposed to give opinions? He's awful opinionated. Yeah, but you're awesome.
Yeah, he's a little too yappy for my liking. So I might have to go down there and teach him a lesson and smack him around a bit. You bitch-ass motherfucker. Don't ever
I missed
disrespect
absolutely
Buzz.
all of that.
Oh, come on, chief. Okay. Well, listen.
No, it was all breaking up. I couldn't hear anything.
All right.
He
Well, I
calls you a
think
bitch-ass motherfucker and he's gonna head down there and knock you out.
You know better.
Okay, yeah.
10
Good
seconds.
luck. Good luck. God bless you. Take care. Paul Malignaggi never knocked out a world-class opponent, that's a fact. So, good luck. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings. Since that actually goes against your narrative.
he hung up, by the way, chief.
I was thinking the same thing too, man.
He gave the fat sound.
Paulie Malignaggi is a fucking knockout puncher. Everything that Boxing Chief said, I was thinking in my mind too.
Paulie is not a knockout puncher. He can't break through a fucking wet paper bag, but he'll kill that nerd.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. I've seen.
Off accumulated punishment, I'm not going to argue that. But knocking a guy out in a street fight, I usually think what Tyson did to Mitch Green.
And if you don't knock that nerd out, what is this world coming to? And that's the dilemma right now with YouTubers and TikTokers.
You know, Gonzalo sounds like
Malignaggi floats like a butterfly and stings like one too.
No.
Well
Jimmy's
said.
on fire. Jimmy's on fire today, man. Yeah, Gonzalo, you sound like the type of guy that would lock people up in the lockers during high school. Is that the type of guy you were? Like, hey, nerd, and you would slap him behind the head and make him drop their glasses?
We throw them in the trash cans in the military. Yeah.
Fucking
tie them
Gonzalo.
up and throw sand on them and fucking pour Gatorades.
So you were the guy asking fucking Napoleon for his tots and then stomping on him with your foot when he didn't give them to you.
Yeah, I've been doing some stuff like that to you nowadays.
Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Oh, man, you guys are horrible, man.
Fuck
Let me
off.
tell you. Yeah, you guys. We don't condone the beating up of nerds and bullying on this show, right? I just want to put that out there.
If a nerd is gonna get out of line, I condone it. Beat his ass.
Well, listen, I will say this in regards to Paulie Malignaggi. I've seen guys in the gym professional fighters who are not big punchers by any stretch of the imagination. They get in there in the ring with a newbie, they throw a couple of pity pat shots, and the other dudes, the newbies, they turn their back on them. So Paulie Malignaggi might not hit hard, but if he opens up, I'm pretty sure this fucking nerd is just gonna turn his back and say, "It was just a prank, bro. It was just a prank," and he's not gonna fight back.
All right. Yeah, I can see that.
You know,
part.
Billy
I
got
can
in.
definitely see
You know, one thing about Malignaggi, I got to give him credit. I wasn't as a fighter a Malignaggi fan by a long stretch, but he actually did a fucking bare knuckle fight. That takes stones.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely, man. And little hand wraps. That's all they had. Like some, not even gauze or anything. It was just little hand wraps. That's.
Oh yeah, only allowed to wrap your wrist though. You're not allowed to wrap your knuckles.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, see, that's yeesh. It's gotta
You
hurt.
can't have
your
nothing
fucking
on
hands.
your knuckles.
Yeah, that's right, man. So listen, fellas, we moved on through all the questions. We didn't skip a single one. Good job. And we'll listen. Coming up.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Coming up, Usyk Joshua. We're going to be doing an online film analysis live for that one. Barrios versus Tank Davis. Maybe we'll do one live. Because I'm telling you, man, I wouldn't be surprised if from here to the Barrios fight, either Barrios tests positive for something, coincidentally, or somebody gets injured and the fight gets postponed and it ends up never happening.
Or Tank injures his back taking a crap.
Oh, come on. Now, wait a minute.
Picking up this Chinese food order. Blows his back out.
That would be crazy if he gets on the scale and he can't make 40, like, he's showing the pattern.
Oh.
With 30, he couldn't make 30 and 35.
He ate himself right out of those divisions. And I love how Ellerbe puts the spin on it because he wants to, he's daring to be great. No, he's fucking daring to be stupid. He doesn't have the discipline to fucking not blow up between, and there's only so far he can go because he's short, 5'5". Yeah,
okay, so he's not daring to be great. He's daring to fight whoever they're fishing out and putting in front of him.
Dude, he's not daring to be great. He's eating to gain weight.
No,
that's all he's doing. He's not.
I mean, dude's straight ducked Lomachenko for 5 years. Like, seriously. I mean, like, they would ask him, oh, well, maybe next year. But then, you know, every time he pissed off Floyd would threaten to make the fight. And then fucking...
Floyd told him, you know,
line.
remember what Floyd said? This was like 2 years ago. He said, you know, in a couple of years, Lomachenko's going to be 40. You know what I'm saying? So he's going to be 40. And I was like, dude, he's like 32.
Yeah, they fucked up their
well, he can't add. I mean,
he said a couple of years.
Yeah,
well, I mean, he thinks 4.5 million is the same as 9 million, so we know he can't add. So
oh, come on. Now, you know what? I'm not gonna stand here and let you guys badmouth Floyd, man. Ain't gonna happen. But for the next show, yeah. But not today. Now listen, fellas.
I can read checks. Yeah.
You sound more like John Travolta than you do Floyd Mayweather right now.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. Yeah, what the fuck, man?
Welcome
I was thinking Travolta too. I was thinking, I work on my hair. You slap my hair. I was thinking the same thing. Hey, BJ, see that last thing I sent you? Yeah, that last thing I sent you, dude. Look at, you know how fucking Davis calls himself the one gorilla. Calls him, you know, he puts up that gorilla emoji
man.
every time he tweets. He calls himself the gorilla.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, look at that fucking meme. Night's made.
Mayweather says no rush to. Oh yeah, it's all a bunch of tweets of him and news articles of him avoiding Lomachenko. Man,
for 5 straight years, right? 5 straight years. But then look at the gorillas. Look at how he matched up the pictures with the black gorilla and the white gorilla.
Yeah, I saw that, man.
And he has the gorilla shitting.
Can't show that on fucking YouTube. But listen, fellas, thank you for being on, man. Really appreciate it. We'll come back. Now, if I may do a second Renaissance, but it's because I want to watch a documentary on the rise of Firefox. Because I didn't even know this, or maybe I'd heard about it and I forgot about it. But Firefox was actually an offshoot. Firefox, the browser, Mozilla Firefox, was actually an offshoot.
Firefox. Yeah.
Recognize what the fuck you talking? Who you talking to, man?
Talking. Oh, you can't hear me. Sorry. Go ahead.
I can't hear you. What did you say?
I said you're talking about Firefox, the search engine.
Yeah. It was actually an offshoot of Netscape. I didn't know that. So it's an interesting thing, and
I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
All right, you know what? Forget it. Maybe I'll end up watching the documentary alone online. If anybody wants to jump on and watch it. Oh, by the way, Jimmy, you.
No, I mean, I'm willing to learn. Don't get me wrong. Now I have to go fucking watch this shit and figure out what you're talking about. I hate not knowing something.
All right, well, listen, we're going to move on. I mean, we're going to go, but thank you, fellas, for watching us and for joining us, rather. Shout out to everybody that donated to the Super Chat. Let me see if I can even, because usually I can't see the names anymore. No, I can't see the names.
Hit the like button on the way out the door.
Yeah, hit the like button, fellas. Come on,
thumbless bastards.
We got more viewers than likes. What's going on here? Like. Like
no,
it now.
I know. What are these guys on got fucking thumbs? Hit that shit.
These guys got they're fucking Eric Roberts in the Poplar Greenwich Village. They got no thumbs, man. Hit that thumbs up button.
They took my thumb, Charlie.
All right, well, listen, fellas. Thank you for joining us. We'll catch you on the next one. No outro. I gotta go. Take it easy, fellas. Hey, by the way, stay on the line on